closer to the hollow, the devil may care. If I showed you around my heart, would you mind if I shared to show you what's wrong with me? I will not change it. I will wait patiently while you get painted out. Let me into your untainted tribe, to be the one who gets to live a lie. Oh, let me lie with you. I'll be a perfect stranger. I wanna be that stupid boy that you don't.
I attended, well, Jay, it wasn't a hockey practice per se. It wasn't training camp. That's next week. It was a casual skate. That's what they're calling it. It was a casual skate attended by many current and perhaps future members of the Edmonton Oilers. They were skating at the downtown community arena. Yes, Connor McDavid was on the ice. He scored a really nice goal, you know. Yes, Leon Draisaitl was on the ice. You're going to hear from him. So I did that today. I went to the casual skate.
A lot of buzz. A lot of buzz.
People love the Oilers. They love when they skate, whether it be seriously or casually, though they prefer the serious skates. But anyway, we'll hear from Leon Draisaitl today. We'll talk about some of those storylines with Tom Gazzola later on. And, of course, my goodness, the Edmonton Elks are a good football team, which was not the case about 7 weeks ago. Though they have a lot of the same well, they're a winning football team.
They're
getting results,
team.
which to me makes them good. 37-16 over the Calgary Stampeders on Saturday to sweep the Labor Day home and home, to jump ahead of Calgary in the standings, a point behind Saskatchewan. You can see Winnipeg and BC, though obviously, you know, there's not a lot of runway to catch both those teams, but they do play Winnipeg twice. My goodness, Jay, the transformation continues under Jarious Jackson. Pretty convincing against Calgary once again.
I will say, I mean, obviously, I wasn't there. We do the kickoff show, the Green and Gold kickoff show, and then we do the post-game show. But I wanted to ask you about the atmosphere, because watching it on TV, that looked incredible. And for any of the Nazis that were there, please chime in the Nasty chat or at the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999. But I wanted to ask you, you were there. I mean, that was a crowd of 32,144 people.
Yeah.
What did it feel like for you?
Well, first of all, I mean, I'm very lucky. I've had season tickets to the Double E since 1997, as people know. And let's face it, for most of that time, they've been a pretty good team, though, you know, there have been dips, certainly 06 for a few years, and then the last few years have been terrible. That was the best vibe in quite a while.
Yeah.
Now, it'd be easy for me to say since 2015 or since, 2019 before the pandemic. I will say this. I thought the first game back after the 2020 season was wiped out, that was a pretty good crowd. They lost to Ottawa in the home opener that year. Is the first game, when they changed it to the Elks and they had some new imaging and the logo and stuff like that. That was pretty exciting for that one because everybody was back after a year without CFL football. And the thinking was that the team might be decent, and then that season went off the rails pretty quickly. But that was the most people on the concourse before a game in a long time. I mean, and I know from where we sit, there have been games this season in which my parents and I have been the only people in our row.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I believe you.
So at this game, there were only 3 empty seats in the row. Unfortunately, my dad wasn't able to attend the game, so we were responsible for an empty seat. And then the 2 seats to my left were empty. The rest of the row was filled. And as you probably know this and I've always been surprised by this over the years as a side note, there are people who go to Commonwealth for a football game and they never sit. They stand at the end.
Yeah.
or watch from one of the ends overlooking the field.
A couple of our most notable listeners, Tube Socks and Lucas from Whale and the Wolf, who's actually in here.
He's in there right now.
Yeah. They always stand there. So does LTE. They all stand at the back at the end where old CW's bar used to be.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, but
I wish they'd bring that bar back.
But the vibe was, I mean, look, we've talked so much about this team, and let's hope there's a playoff push and a playoff spot, and who knows if they could somehow get into second place and get a home playoff game. But the problem with the team the last 3 years, I mean, it's one thing to lose. That's hard. That's hard on fans. It's hard to keep interest going if you're going 3-11 and then 4-14 and 4-14. But especially these 3 years with the Elks leading into this year, the games weren't entertaining. Like they were, as we remember, they were shut out twice last year, once at home. The last year, I felt if the other team led 6-0, it's over. Maybe even 3-0 was enough against the Elks, that they just weren't going to score. So this year, let's face it, the games were entertaining, even though they lost 3 games on a last play field goal. If you're watching those games not caring who's going to win, you're entertained. But now they're entertaining, they're scoring a lot of points, and we're going to talk about the offensive numbers later on, and they're getting results. And I'll say this, Jay, I know you want to jump in, but I'll just say this. For me personally, watching the game Saturday, it was a total flip from a couple months ago when I used to feel, oh no, the other team has the lead or it's close, but I feel like the Elks are going to be the team that messes it up. When the Elks got a 10-3 lead, when they got that touchdown and the 2-point convert, I felt they're good. They're going to roll. Not necessarily blow them out. I didn't know they'd win by 21, but I just felt they're fine. They're under control. They have the lead. They're not going to give it back. If Calgary responds, they're going to have to work for it. Totally different feeling for me just about the mental fortitude of the team.
When's the last time you felt that? That's been a while, right?
Felt it that strongly? Well, certainly not since 2020. I mean, now I'm trying to think back to 19 and 18. Certainly in 15, I felt it. Now, that was a Grey Cup caliber team. They won the Grey Cup. We knew all year that was a Grey Cup caliber team. I don't know if this team can win the Grey Cup. I mean, they're capable of
why do you say I don't know?
Because I don't think they're as good as Montreal or Winnipeg or BC on paper. On paper, the 2015 team was obviously the best team in the league to me. But they're good enough to beat everybody. They're good enough to do damage if they make the playoffs.
I know.
I just don't think they're the number one team in the league.
I've just got such a... They're flying right now.
Well, they are.
They are, in any sport. It doesn't matter if it's professional hockey, football, baseball. Usually the teams that coming into the playoffs end up going and winning.
Yeah.
Are hot.
Yeah.
Now, are they peaking too soon? Is an honest, valid question. Or the alternative is they just run the rest of this season out.
I guess here's the clarification on
or say go 4-1 in their next 5 games. That's very possible.
If they sweep Winnipeg, my belief level is going to go up. I guess I'll clarify it by saying this: if we're actually going to compare a 5-8 team to a team that went 14-4 and won the Grey Cup, but the team in 15 was so good that in the fourth quarter, if they were down, I always felt as if they were going to figure it out. And actually, an example I'll use is a game that I didn't attend to the end because I had an Oilers game that day, but they beat BC in overtime at home, somewhere in that 10-in-a-row streak. It was still a regular season game. And it was kind of one of those, it's close, and I think BC had a lead, and they kind of were struggling in the fourth quarter. And my mom told me after the game that she turned to my dad at some point and said, in the third quarter, turned to my dad and said, "Are you concerned they're going to drop this one?" And my dad said, "No, it's not the fourth quarter yet." Like, there was
a change.
So much.
That's a change.
This year, if this team was struggling in the with 5 minutes left in the third quarter and was maybe down 5 or 6, like they're within a score but they're not leading, I couldn't feel for certain that they were going to figure out in the fourth. Though I would certainly think that they had a chance given how they've been playing lately.
Well, and I have to get into some of this conversation because this is a conversation, and we want to be conversational with our listeners and get your points of view, your opinions, your takes, and they're all very glowing reports for what happened Saturday night at Commonwealth. Last time we checked in from Andrea from Calgary, she was on her way up for the game on Friday. She said the tailgate was also impressive. We happened to be in the area where someone called out, "You're missing Reid Wilkins." Maybe I shouldn't. They said something about your, how you used to work at this other place. Anyways, Jay, pre-read these texts. Okay, great. In the nasty
I haven't
chat,
seen it, everybody.
In the nasty chat, Caster 1990. Gentlemen, it was very odd having neighbors to my left for the very first time this season at Commonwealth. Vibe was very much like the rematches of the mid-90s when I first started buying Double E tickets. So that's, and then Riley hops in as been a season ticket holder since 2009. Atmosphere was incredible last game. I think I almost prefer having the upper bowl closed and the lower bowl filled out. And this is an interesting point. Thank you for all your comments. My co-host on the kickoff, the Green and Gold kickoff show and post-game show, who's sitting right here, Matthew Awanek, has been very, I guess, certain on his take that leave it closed for the rest of the year.
Right.
And I'm starting to buy into that. At first, I was jaded towards it because those were where I like to sit. So this is it was a personal argument at that point. But from a business perspective, I would say yes, keep it closed for the rest of the year. Get the idea that if you don't go and buy tickets now, later this week for the upcoming Blue Bombers game, you run the risk of not getting one. That is running this organization to a T, if you can do that. And there's really no need to open it up. I mean, that was a sellout. I don't even know what an exact sellout is now because they kept opening up portions of the stadium that
and behind the end
so
zone there. Yeah,
the official number was 32,144,
which even would have been a good crowd 20 years ago. Now to be fair, there might have been games that got 35.
Well, the Labor Day
40.
rematch would have been one of them, right?
Sometimes, but there'd be a lot of games. Okay, an average Toronto team is here. You're probably getting 30 to 35. When the attendance was better.
I mean, all in all, it's just a positive vibe situation.
Yeah.
It was such a relief to see that beautiful stadium filled and not to see those multicolored seats that they put in to make it look like there were fans there.
Right.
There were actual fans in the stands. The Double E came out and put together a dominant football game, and they are rocking and rolling. This team is now a serious contender, not just to make the playoffs. This team is a serious contender to hoist the Grey Cup in BC Place at the end of the year.
I think you're a little more optimistic about that than I am.
That's just me in general.
That's just you in general, whereas I'm an old curmudgeon.
You're like Maddie a bit more.
Oh, that's seriously the comparison? All right. We got more on the Elks to come, including in about 5 or 6 minutes, the head coach of the team, Jarious Jackson, who has been given by many of you a lot of credit for this turnaround. But I mentioned I was at the Oilers casual skate today at the downtown community arena. Leon Draisaitl took some questions from the assembled media horde, and it was a horde. All the regulars were there except for a couple of guys. Leon had this to say about getting out there and skating early before training camp.
Obviously, there's some excitement, getting going here, and obviously you do have to pace yourself a little bit. Saw it last year; it didn't work in our favor, but I think we got a great approach, great mindset in here, and we'll make sure we're ready to go.
All right, and then so Leon took some questions. He talked about Arvidsson, some other things about expectations for this season, and we'll get to those a little bit later on. But I thought, okay, this is the opportunity. Maybe I can get something a little different from Leon. So I said, hey, what was the most exciting or memorable sporting event you attended this summer?
I would have to say the gold medal game in field hockey. My sister's husband played in it. Unfortunately, they lost, but that was really cool in Paris. Yeah, that was amazing.
Did you get to the other events while you were there?
No, I didn't. No, I just came for that game, so that was probably the coolest thing. Yeah, they got silver.
All right, so Leon Draisaitl went to the men's field hockey gold medal game August 8th in Paris, Netherlands and Germany. Actually, it was a 1-1 draw, and then Netherlands won 3-1 on penalties. So I got to thinking, because here's the thing. Our show started, Jay, this show started obviously after the Olympics, so we didn't really get to chat about some of the Canadian stories or just other things we watched that were of interest, which means we also didn't get to interact with the listeners about it too much. So this is our off-topic topic today for William Huff. Since 1952, William Huff has provided industry-leading advertising solutions for thousands of valued clients. Their unparalleled customer service, combined with decades of industry expertise and a desire to make every job the very best it can be, is what they call the William Huff Advantage. Visit their website, williamhuff.com, or give them a shout, 780-454-4536. Now, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'll kind of ask two tiers. First of all, did you attend the Paris Olympics? Did anybody in our audience actually go? Like, that wouldn't be an easy trip. I assume Paris wouldn't be a cheap city to stay in as a tourist and then attend some Olympic events.
I know people that went to the Olympics
This year.
We
got to hear from them.
Yes.
And don't just say, yes, I went. Tell us, give us a detail, something you saw, a cool moment you saw, or a touristy thing you did. Like, give us 2 or 3 sentences. So did you go to the Paris Olympics? That's the off-topic topic. And then if we don't get a lot of those, have you ever attended an Olympics? What was a highlight? What did you see? I mean, clearly there have been a couple in Canada, at least in my... Yeah, you would have been around. Well, you would have been, what, 2 and... No, you would have been 6 in 88, right?
I would.
Do you remember
7.
the Calgary Olympics?
7,
sort of.
The thing I remember most about the Calgary Olympics was the cups and the glassware that you got from Petro-Canada, because those lived on further than the Olympics. They had little tumblers; those were beautiful.
That could have been another off-topic topic.
They had the engraved skyline of Calgary and the Saddle
right.
Dome. I remember those like they were yesterday.
All right, we do have Jarious Jackson, Elks head coach, in a couple of minutes. First, here's a sports update with Zach Kubish.
Aaron Rodgers and the Jets meet the 49ers tonight for Monday football action. Join Lieutenant Eric and the Nasties down at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for every single Monday and Thursday game day. Bills quarterback Josh Allen is cleared to start next week's game against the Dolphins. Allen injured his non-throwing hand during the Bills' win yesterday night. Staying in the world of football, LA Rams receiver Puka Nacua is considered week to week with a knee injury. He had 4 catches for 35 yards before he was pulled midway through the second quarter against the Lions last night. Over in the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers hit the ice for captain skate today after their short offseason. The Oilers' first preseason game is September 22nd against the Winnipeg Jets. Blue Jays pitcher Chris Bassett has been nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award. This award is given to the player that best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contributions to his team. Chris Bassett gets a call tonight for the Jays in their first game against the Mets just after 5. We'll be right back with the Reid Wilkins Show with Jarious Jackson joining Jay and Reid in just a moment. I'm Zachary Kubish, and now you're up to date on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki with like a giant eagle's wings and singing lead vocals for Lynyrd Skynyrd with like an angel band. And I'm in the crowd hammered drunk.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road, parkmazda.ca.
At A&W, you can start the morning off right with a regular coffee and an egger of your choice for just $4.99. Bacon and egger or sausage and egger on a seeded bun or an English muffin? The choice is yours. But we know it'll be tasty either way. And to make matters even more delicious, this offer is available all day. But don't snooze on this deal. An egger and a regular coffee for only $4.99 is a limited time price. Available at participating A&W restaurants in Greater Edmonton.
Get ready, Edmonton. The moment you've been waiting for is here. It's time to celebrate the best of the best with the Esties, as we honor everything from Edmonton Sports Talk's incredible first year. Join us on September 17th at Metro Cinema for an unforgettable night of excitement, laughter, and recognition. Tickets are just $10. Secure your spot by emailing matt@edmontonsportstalk.com. And after the show, let's keep the party going at Hudson's White Ave for the official after party. Mark your calendar, grab your tickets, and get ready to celebrate the best moments of EST. It's the Esties, September 17th.
Just say
right, for the Edmonton Elks lately, 5 wins in their last 6. They've passed Calgary in the standings. They're looking at Saskatchewan next, and then who knows beyond. They are on a bye week, but then a home-and-home with Winnipeg, which should be fun as well. Next Saturday is another home game. GoElks.com, of course, to get your tickets. And we are pleased to welcome to the Reid Wilkins Show the head coach of the Edmonton Elks, Jarious Jackson. Jarious, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, we're doing great. Thanks a lot for taking the time to check in. I'll just start very generic here. How are you feeling after sweeping this home-and-home against Calgary? I mean, obviously these are 2 vital wins to stay alive in that playoff race.
Feeling great about it. You know, it's always tough to beat a team twice, especially when you're dealing with your in-province rivalry. So, yeah, feeling great about it. Team's feeling great. You know, what a great way to head into the bye.
Jarious, in your post-game presser, you announced that Trey Ford will be the starter heading into the Winnipeg matchup. Take me through the thought process of announcing Trey as your starter now, as opposed to waiting till the end of the bye week and into the lead up to that Winnipeg game, which is a crucial matchup. Talk us through that decision.
Well, I mean, it's really no secret. At some point, I'm sure it would have gotten out anyway. At the end of the day, I feel like we have 2 guys that are very capable of getting the job done. Unfortunately, I think it was the DC game that Trey ended up getting nicked up a little bit, and that's what kind of put him down for a few weeks. But he's slowly been progressing the proper way, and we felt like that, you know, Mac did such a great job on the Labor Day Classic game, and to be able to come back the following week and allow Trey to, you know, get some rest again. I mean, he was ready and able. He probably was about 80-some%. So he definitely could have played last week. I mean, he ended up finishing the game off for us. But, you know, it was all due to just getting him some rest. And at the end of the day, you know, it didn't matter about, you know, them knowing or the league knowing or what have you, who will be our starter next week. Because at the end of the day, like I just mentioned earlier, we have 2 guys that are more than capable of getting the job done.
Well, and speaking of the other guy, that's McLeod Bethel Thompson. I assume he knew that this change was coming and what the game plan was, but how did he or how has he handled it?
He's been an ultimate pro. Like that's who Mac is. That's who he is as a person. That's who he is as a player. And, you know, he's on board with it. He understands the circumstances and where we are. And he's willing to do whatever it takes to try and help us succeed, whether that's, you know, being a starter or if he has to back up Trey or if he has to come in for any other reason. He's been the ultimate pro, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Now, we all know what wins championships. I mean, defense wins championships. I know as an offensive guy, you may have something to say about that, but I'll let you speak, okay? But this defense under Jason Shivers in the last 6 games is averaging 21 points allowed. That is bucking the trend of CFL scoring for sure. What has he done? What's been the change under, you know, with with Jason Shivers from weeks 1 to 7 through till now? What's changed?
You know what? I think more than anything, the guys are finally completely understanding what it is that he's trying to get done. Also, you know, I know they have meetings all the time where early in the week, Coach Shivers or Coach Klun will do most of the install, and probably by midweek, you know, we start letting those guys handle the calls. Like, you know, what call would you make in this situation? You know, who's got number 3? Who's got number 2? I think just the way that they go about their preparation and go about the installs, and they put the onus on the players, and they take ownership of it. And once they do that and they understand the calls and they're anticipating certain calls that are coming in, it allows them to fly around and play fast. And I think that's been, you know, that's been the result that you've been seeing over these past 5 to 6 weeks.
Jarious Jackson, Elks head coach, joining us this afternoon. Jarious, when the coaching change was made, the Elks were 0-5. I mean, you're 5-3. And a lot of the discussion, and I hear a lot of fans say this, is, well, what's changed? Jarious must be doing something different than Chris wasn't doing. I also know, you know, you're very close with Chris, and that was hard for you to see him go. But I do think it's relevant, you know, to ask you that question or how you would respond to that if a somebody came up to you on the street and said, "Wow, Jarious, you sure changed a lot. What have you done?" How would you respond to that?
Well, I'm not going to give up all the goodness to the secret sauce. But at the end of the day, I think we changed up, or I changed up the way how we practice, how we do install. Just like I mentioned about the defense, the players taking ownership. That's been going on the entire time. But at the end of the day, I just feel like how we practice, how we go about our daily routine, the players know I believe in them. They're not worried about making mistakes, and just our overall effort and how we go about our daily business, I think has been the biggest change. And the players understand the scheduling. I think that's big for them from a standpoint of it doesn't matter if we're having a 5, 6, 7, or 8 day week. They know exactly what the schedule is. They know exactly how their time is going to be divided up, and they can plan accordingly. So I think those are a few of the biggest changes that I've made.
Okay. The run game's been great, which we have seen, in flashes last season as well, to be fair. But, 3 guys getting it done. Trey can move the ball with his feet when he's playing as well. Why do you think the run game has been able to excel?
Because we've stuck with it. There was times early on in the season where, here and there, because of Matt being such a prolific passer and great at getting the ball out of his hands, at times, I would have him throwing the ball, 40-something times a game. But, we took a few of those passes away, and we devoted, that time and energy to the run game. And, to me, it's no different if you throw an incomplete pass and you're 2nd and 10, or if you hand the ball off and you don't get a yard, you're 2nd and 10 regardless. But I think it allows the O-line to be more aggressive. It allows them to come off on those defensive players up front and hopefully tire them out throughout the game. So when we are put in passing situations, then now, they can be better served at protecting the quarterback because they've been able to be aggressive all game. And you can see, like even last week, like probably after the first few drives, I was starting to see a few hands on the knees from defensive players and whatnot, heavy breathing. So that just tells me to keep running it. So I think more than anything, we've just decided to stick with it no matter the outcome.
Jarious, I just want to give a little bit of a peek, behind the curtain, say, of what a bye week looks like in the CFL. I would assume for coaches, there's never a bye week. There's never a day off. So give us a little bit of a glimpse into what the week looks like for your coaching staff and what the expectations are. And I guess when would the players be reporting back if they decided to leave Edmonton?
Everyone has off until Friday. Most of the coaches or everyone will be back on Friday, coaches and players. We'll get together on Saturday and get to watch this film, put it behind us, as well as we'll probably have weights or whatnot, have them get them to move around a little bit. Normally the day after that, Sunday rather, I would normally give them off, but we're actually going to go out and get to moving around a little bit because it'll be, an entire week, 5-6 days since the guys have been doing anything. Of course, I asked them to make sure they try to get a lift in and a workout, but, some guys will, some won't. But, we actually devote time to that within our 4.5-hour rule. So the coaches do have off right now as well, but, some are in the office already, some are working from home and already breaking down the Winnipeg film and coming up with thoughts and ideas as far as for the game plan. But everybody does have off for the entire week. But like you say, it's hard for coaches to just completely stay away.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that at the end because that's my experience. Football coaches don't have a lot of downtime, so I'm sure you're still watching a lot of film here as you get ready for the Blue Bombers. Look, I know you have to be in the mindset of win the next game. And as positive as it is lately, 5-8 is 5-8. The path to the playoffs still does not include a room for error. But how much do you think about what needs to be done to secure a playoff spot when you look at those final 5 games?
Honestly, I don't at all. I honestly, just as you mentioned, and it's something I constantly harp on and preach to the guys is, being where our feet are. Right now, it's Winnipeg, and that's our only focus. I'm not looking on down the schedule. I know we got Sask and Toronto and Calgary again at some point, but our focus right now is the next game, and I think that's that's another thing that, I think that, we've constantly harped on and focused on, and the guys believe in it and they trust it, and, they've taken that same outlook each and every week. So Winnipeg is our focus, and that's it.
Well, a lot of people are already talking about that game, Jarious, and hopefully it's another big crowd for you guys next Saturday. Thanks a lot for joining us, especially on the bye week, but Elks are fun to watch lately, sir. Thanks a lot for checking in.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
There's the head coach of the Elks, Jarious Jackson, joining us here as we are coming to you from the James H. Brown studio. James H. Brown Personal Injury Law Firm, the heavy hitters of injury law. With over 200 years of experience, James H. Brown will get you the settlement you deserve. Visit them at jameshbrown.com today and book your private consultation. Okay, so, yeah, coaches never really get a full bye week, as he told us. A few things stood out for me, though, there, Jay, in that interview. I wasn't sure how he was going to answer that question when I said what changed from you to Chris Jones, because it's a dicey situation. And in his case, he's replacing a guy who he was on the staff of. I mean, Chris Knobloch came in November, really didn't know Jay Woodcroft, but didn't really say too much. I mean, he said, okay, I just want to make sure players are feeling good, and we'll look at some things, but he didn't dive in. Jarious gave us some specifics, though. I wrote down the word routine, I wrote down the word practice, and I wrote down the word scheduling. And that's the one thing I had heard about Chris Jones, is that players didn't know where practice was. When it was. They would show up in the morning and be told, or just be told, we'll be ready and I'll let you know when practice is going to start. That sometimes practices would be unexpectedly extended. And then, we're running extra plays? I thought we were good. I'd put the work in, and now you're telling me I got to do more work. So it seems to me that the recent success of the Elks, I mean, of course, what happens in the game is important, but it almost seems like, well, not almost, it does seem like off-field and the preparation and the standards or the routine in the days leading up to the game is the most significant change. That he didn't come out and say something, well, I'm calling 5-yard ins and Chris wanted to call 8-yard outs. It's not a strategic alteration per se. I guess with the run game it might be a little bit, but it's more like, here's how we behave as a team to prepare for the game, and that's helping.
Great points. Great grabs from that clip from Jarious Jackson, because that explains a lot. If you are coming into the clubhouse, the locker room, the morning of a practice, and you do not know what time your meetings start, you do not know what time practice starts, you do not know what the practice plan is. How can you, as a professional athlete, properly prepare yourself for the day? That is a huge part. The mental side of being a professional athlete is it's very important. It is so critical. And you look at those first 7 games under Chris Jones.
Well, 5.
Say, okay,
Jarious lost his first 2, but yeah, still. I know what you're saying.
You look at where, and I'll say the first, I mean, it takes time to turn this around.
Fair enough.
Okay? You look at the mistakes that were made. Costly errors at critical times. That was what led to them losing and dropping their first 7 games. Critical mistakes at critical times. We said it on the kickoff show and the postgame show all the time. If they could eliminate those, they probably could have won 4 or 5 of their first 7 games. That is a direct correlation to having a locker room that is not in order, to having a team that is not moving in the same direction. That's what happens. Now you get this team headed in the same direction mentally, physically, and look what happens. This is a different looking team. This is a different looking offense. This is a very much so different looking defense. They're playing like a team. So disjointed before, together now, and it's not hard.
Right.
Geez, I mean, you ask any high school football coach, they have a practice plan in place. They have a time that meetings are. They have scheduled lifts. That was alarming to hear that was not a day-to-day part of the procedure for those players. That is alarming.
And it's strange that's now again we're going off this based on what Jarious said and also other things you and other media and fans have heard. So, take that for what it's worth. But it's odd to me that if that's how Chris Jones was conducting his organization, that he would do that. I mean, to me, that is what someone would do who got the job, who got a head coaching and GM job before they were ready, and then just couldn't handle the details. Jones had been around. And don't forget, he won a Grey Cup in this. Here's a side note. Chris Jones is responsible for one of the greatest and then perhaps the worst Elks coaching tenures in the history of the organization. Because 14 and 15 were pretty good. I mean, clearly it doesn't match Hugh Campbell.
But he was not the GM in 14-15.
No, true. But still.
This is something a GM would...
But then tell your assistants, hey, can you schedule the practices? Because I got to do this right now.
There was obviously something missing, and we've questioned that in the past, is whether it was too much. Because I think GM Chris Jones was okay.
Now we know that Chris Jones, the coach, let down Chris Jones, the GM. I thought it was the other way around, that he didn't bring in the players.
Many do, but when you hear things like that from the current head coach, who was his offensive coordinator at the time, there's a lack of preparation. If you go to a fight and you're not prepared, if you go to a battle and you're not prepared and you don't have a game plan and you're not unified, how in the world would you expect to win? And they almost did.
That's true. They lost 3 games on the last play. Literally.
Costly errors at critical times.
And that's another thing. And we're going to dive into that and some other things as we go along here. They're not perfect, and clearly MBT made a big mistake in the fourth quarter, but they were up 21 points when it happens. Calgary made way, way larger mistakes and way more often on Saturday. All right. You can dive in. Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999. What stood out for you in that Jarious Jackson interview? Jump into the nasty chat on YouTube as well. You can email Reid at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. We're also going to look into crunch the numbers for Gallo LOP, and I want to go over some things here because I think we got to remind everybody how good this Elks offense has been, not just lately, but really the numbers for the whole season. First, here's Zach with the sports update.
Aaron Rodgers and the Jets meet the 49ers tonight for Monday Night Football action. Join Lieutenant Eric and the Nasties down at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Fort Road for every Monday and Thursday night. Bills quarterback Josh Allen is cleared to start next week's game against the Miami Dolphins. Allen injured his non-throwing arm during the Bills' 34-28 win last night. Staying in the world of football, LA Rams receiver Puka Nacua is considered week to week with a knee injury. He had 4 catches for 35 yards before he was pulled midway through the second quarter against the Lions last night. Over in the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers hit the ice for captain skates today after their short offseason. The Oilers' first preseason game is September 22nd against the Jets. Blue Jays pitcher Chris Bassett has been nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award. This award is given to the player that best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to his team. Chris Bassett gets a call on the mound tonight for the Jays in their game against the Mets. That just starts just after 5. I'm Zachary Kubish, and we'll be right back with the Reid Wilkins Show in just a moment.
Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Few of us can say that we're over 60 and still hot, but Mr. Mike's Burger can. And to celebrate over 60 years of Mr. Mike's famous burger, you're invited to taste history for only $8.99 at Mike Burger Madness. Savor the original flame-grilled Mike Burger on their signature garlic French loaf for a limited time. Dine-in only price of just $8.99. Sides extra. It's Mr. Mike's Mike Burger Madness, and you'd be mad to miss it. Offer ends September 30th. Eat locally, enjoy casually.
At Mind360, we invite you to embark on your mental health journey in a safe and comfortable space. Conveniently located in St. Albert, Mind360 has a diverse team of experienced clinicians that offer a broad range of tailored services for children, adults, and families. Furthermore, we are very proud to serve our military, veterans, and first responders. If you're looking for counseling, treatment, or assessment, understand that you are not alone. Contact Mind360 at mind360.ca to book an appointment today.
Hey Edmonton, ready to take advantage of lower rates and better pricing? South Fort Chevrolet in Fort Saskatchewan has you covered. From rugged trucks to sleek SUVs. And with over 40 years in business, you can trust that you're getting the best deal on your new ride. As the proud title sponsor of the Nielsen Show, EST listeners can drive a little to save a lot with South Fort Chevrolet's transparent pricing and down-to-earth sales team. Visit us today in Fort Saskatchewan or online at southfortchev.com.
That's the extent of my dancing.
I was going to say,
especially when I'm sitting down. For those of you watching on YouTube, everybody do this at home.
That was straight fire.
Somebody
Reid.
at their desk right now doing this.
That's like that one team, that AAA baseball team that does the Elaine Bennis dance-off. You know, Elaine dancing on Seinfeld?
Oh, right.
That's kind of your moves were reminiscent
I'm
of
very Elaine-like.
Yeah.
By the way, Veep, great show with Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
I've never seen one.
Veep's incredible. Some of the best insults you'll ever hear. Okay, a couple things. Speaking of, I want to mention this because, as we know, tough era for the Elks. And let's face it, even before they've been really bad the last few years, the attendance has been declining since like a long. I mean, even after they won the Cup in 15, attendance went down in 16. In the row in front of me, I'm in Section H on Saturday. Two kids, I don't know, maybe 10. And the one kid especially, Elks T-shirt, knew the players, you know, would say things like, got to catch that, or like he knew what was going on. When the Elks would get a first down, even if it wasn't Gino, he was doing Gino's pointing celebration. Like, he was totally into it. And I was like, okay, and now he's also got the experience of, I think instead of last year, a kid going, I was at that game where they didn't score a point and the quarterback got booed, and now my dad says we're never going to go again. Now he's going to tell his parents, we should go again. Well, like they beat Calgary by 3 touchdowns when we went.
Positive sports memories mean a lot to those young kids, and that's a great story to hear. It's great to see, and I really believe that is what's going to carry. Well,
And you're not going to win every game.
Carry
I don't want fans to suggest that, don't go if they don't win every game. But, you know, they're competitive, and it's fun to watch, you know.
It's great to see. The kids in the stands are the best thing the Elks organization could ask for. Really.
Yes.
I mean that. And I don't want to take anything away from older fans, but the kids are the wave of the future. And if you were going to have one issue or one problem with the CFL, is that it's not gaining enough young fans traction. And so that's great to see. Albeit they did give away free tickets, which has been happening since I was in grade school. So that's not that is not news.
And I should say, I think I'd seen this little guy at games before, so he's taken.
But good, bring him out. It's a great vibe for kids. It's affordable. It's good.
A lot of positive. I'm going to focus on the offense, Jane. You'll probably get bored and then make me listen to the stats about defense. But we're going to crunch the numbers for Gallo LLP, Chartered Professional Accountants, where they go beyond the numbers to ensure the continued success of your business. Reach out to Preet or John at Gallo LLP if you would like to discuss further how they can crunch your numbers and help your business grow. Website gallollp.ca. See how they can help your business grow. Before I dive into the specific numbers, I want to reference something else Jarious said, and you almost did a cartwheel. We committed to the run. He said we committed to because I said, why is it so good? And he said, well, because we committed to it. We just keep doing it.
Yeah. If you're going to get 2 yards, sometimes you're going to get 7 yards. Sometimes you're going to get 20 yards. Sometimes, but you have to commit to it. Otherwise, defenses don't, and it's not. It has nothing to do with necessarily. How should I phrase this? It has nothing to do with necessarily scoring points. It has to do with keeping the defense honest. Defensive coordinators that see a team, like look at the Stampeders. They rushed it for under 10 times. That allows your defensive coordinator to pin his ears back, send the hounds, and then you got Bonner throwing 5 interceptions. I mean, it's going to happen. That happens. You cannot you cannot pass the ball all the time. I get it's a passing league, but you still have to commit to the run. Now they're taking that to a new level because look at the studs they have in the barn. I mean, they have Javon Leake, they have Kevin Brown, and they have Justin Rankin. 3 of those 3 running backs would be starters on any CFL other than maybe Brady Oliveira. They'd be starter or number 2.
Yeah, they'd be in
and
the
you've got
league.
all 3 of them.
Right.
You're blessed with riches at the running back. For goodness sake, use them.
Yeah.
So to that, I applaud you, head coach Jarious
And they bring
Jackson.
in Rankin in the 4th.
And
when
he
he's
goes
fresh
off.
and the Calgary defense is exhausted. So,
Exactly.
And I think the biggest compliment I could pay the Elks run game is that really they can run in any situation. I think the longest second down they converted on the run was a 2nd and 6. Might have been I forgot to check. It wasn't quite a 2nd and 10. But I'm at the point with the run game. If they had a 2nd and 10, and I heard, and if I had the earpiece and it was a run play, I'd be like, okay.
I know exactly what play you're talking about.
You might get it.
It was in the second quarter.
Yes.
And it was a 2nd and long, say 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 7, and they ran a draw play to Kevin Brown, which we've never seen. We've seen once prior to that, and he went for 14 yards, picked up the first down, and was in the red zone. Both Maddie and I looked at each other and said, that was nice. And you know what came up later? Was the end around by Tevin Jones, another running play, another schemed running play that was all timing, and Tevin Jones gets loose around the outside. I mean, this team... I almost feel bad for the negativity that was thrust towards Jarious Jackson earlier in the year because clearly he was not allowed to use and exploit all the options he had, nor were they ready to.
Right.
Structurally, fundamentally, in that locker room.
There was some philosophy with Jones. And again, it's weird because I've praised the guy in the past. I mean, he won a Grey Cup. He did turn Saskatchewan around, even though they didn't get to the Grey Cup. Like, he did good things, but it just didn't click here, whether it was some stubbornness or maybe relying on past successes as opposed to saying, like, I got to adapt a little bit. And I want to say this, and MBT was not as good on Saturday as he was on Labor Day. I mean, he had the one pass, might have been his first pass of the game, that should have been picked off. The guy dropped it. I thought the rollout in the third quarter when he got it to Gino down the sideline on 2nd and 12, though, I thought that was an excellent play. I thought the long bomb to Gino was a great throw. I thought the touchdown throw to Gino was timing on the mark, but he missed some, and the pick was ill-advised. Even having said that, he was kind of a middling game by MBT. He was still the better quarterback, and with maybe Bonner's going to figure it out, but Jay, to be a little bit sarcastic here, it's almost as if he hasn't figured out that after I throw the ball, the DBs are still allowed to move. Because those deep throws down the right side, sure, his receiver looked wide open when he threw it, and the Elks DBs were just saying, "Oh, thanks, buddy. We can run the 10 yards while the ball's in the air and pick it off. We're good."
They have every right to that ball as much as the wide receiver, and sometimes Bonner did not realize that was an actual part of the football game. He just looked overwhelmed.
And they have nothing except Bagleton.
I said it on Friday. There's a reason he's not a starting quarterback in the CFL.
Right.
And we clearly saw why.
And maybe he will be at some point.
And I mean, maybe Larry Thompson ran over his toe when he drove the mini fire truck through the bench. That was so good.
Was Larry comfortable doing that? Because I don't know if he's the most outgoing guy.
I don't know. I don't even know the full story behind it or what went through his head. But I mean, that was just pure. It was so great. It was so great to see. He just made a mistake. He zigged when he should have zagged, and he ended up going.
I didn't see this. He drove right through the bench.
Well, they were throwing football touchdowns into the crowd.
They went
him
by
and his
us,
wife.
and then
instead of going behind the bench, he must have got cut off by some of the signage on the sidelines and drove it right through the sideline and literally the Stampeders bench.
Oh no!
To the point where one of the Calgary officials on their sideline followed the car after. What are you doing?
Right.
Very so.
Well, hey,
it's like-
that's home field advantage.
I agree.
Our owner can drive through your
who
bench.
cares?
We've never had an owner before.
and then he like kind of he put the gas down to get out of there. yeah. It was, and the way Rashog broke it down, it was classic. It was just classic.
So I
it was
did,
great.
the TV stuff, and I didn't go back and watch the whole game. I watched like the 12-minute highlight pack, so I didn't see that. All right, because I know you're gonna tell me the defense is the reason teams win.
Well, no. Let's preface this by saying
crunch the numbers.
We're crunching some numbers
Gallo
here.
LLP.
We got to be fair. I'm a defense wins kind of guy. So
Chris Jones 0-5. I'll round off some numbers. The team was outscored 30-26. Not terrible, but outscored. I'm even including Jarius' first 2 games, and they lost pretty bad to Hamilton. Jarius 5-3, outscoring the opponents 31-24. Rankings for the season by the offense. Points per game, first. Touchdowns scored, first. First downs, first. Net offense, second. Yards per play, third. Passing, average yards per pass, first, just ahead of Toronto. They've only been sacked, third. They've given up the third fewest number of sacks in the league. Passing touchdowns, tied for first. The only thing that they're a little lower down on, passing yards per play, they're 7th. But
who cares?
Okay, yeah. That's the crazy thing. And a year ago, I'm doing Inside Sports every night. Oh, they got shut out. Oh, they can't score. Oh, they lost on a Rouge. Like they just, they lost 13-12 or 12-11 in Saskatchewan. They got shut out at home. And now it's like this is the best offense statistically in the Canadian Football League.
Statistically speaking, when they were going through that 0-7 stretch, they were not the bottom of the barrel. Like that's why it was such a mind boggle, because looking at this team, if you just looked at the stats, you'd say, okay, this is a 500 team. They were not. They were 0-7. And it was hard to figure out why. Now we're starting to piece together this puzzle as to why. And I think your question to Jarious was, that might be voted on as an Esty, because I think you just, you found the Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, the Ark of the Covenant. You found it with that question, because a lot of people were asking, and I'm seeing the nasty chat come in. I'm seeing the Paris Jewelers inbox fill up of people saying, this makes sense, because this is two totally different teams. Now, that also flips over to the defensive side of the ball. It affects the team because it's a football team. This is not ping pong or tennis. There are 12 players on the field at all times. So as a team, this affects them. Now, defensively, right now, currently, they lead the CFL in the turnover ratio.
Oh, they're up to first.
They are in first. They are at plus 16. They lead the CFL in interceptions with 20.
Well, 9 in the last 2.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Bonner and Mayer
even the
padded
last
their
play of the
stats.
game, we got one more. That was kind of funny.
They have forced 33 turnovers from their opponents. Now, this is so turnover ratio. I've harped on that all year. I believe that is a really good indicator as to if you are doing the right things or if you're doing the wrong things.
Right.
Earlier in the year, it was minus. I think the lowest it got was -5. And then slowly through this, what we're seeing is this change. They've now gotten it up to plus 16. That is massive. That is big. For those that don't know what the turnover ratio is, it means plus 16 means you've taken away the ball. Your defense has taken the ball away 16 more times than your offense has given it away.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, it's plus 16.
Yep.
It's a great stat. It's a really good indicator for good football. But here's the one that's really starting to come into its own light. In the last 6 games, the Double E have given up an average of 21 points per game. Reid, if I went to you and I said for the rest of the year, heck, I'll even throw 2 points on it. The rest of the year, the Elks are going to give up 23 points per game. Do you think that the Elks could win every one of those games based off of their offensive output?
Yes.
You'd be silly to say no.
It'd be tough. I mean, Winnipeg's got a good defense too.
It's guaranteed.
But can the Elks get 3 touchdowns and a field goal every game to get to 24? They should be able to.
They should be able to.
The way they're moving the ball.
So that stat is great. The league average is I didn't do the exact, but it's right around 26. So they're 5 points under the league average with an offense that is making history, literally, This team is good. This team is going in the right direction,
Well,
and that's why I think they are serious Grey Cup contenders.
And points allowed are points allowed, but just from a defensive standpoint, they did not give up a touchdown on Saturday. And Calgary also got a punt return touchdown on Labor Day. So that's actually 2 touchdowns Calgary scored that the defense didn't allow. And those don't happen every game. If you're the Golden Bears football team, they happen a lot, which we're going to talk about after the break. Pick sixes happen quite a bit. That was a bit of a weird one. But yeah, it is so much positivity with the Elks. I mean, we really haven't had this in years. And an exciting home and home. Well, hopefully an exciting home and home against Winnipeg coming up. All right, coming up to 4 o'clock, we're going to take a break here. When we get back, Zach will have a sports update. We will tell you what happened in that Golden Bears Dinos game. What happened is not what neither Jay nor I expected, unfortunately. And we'll give you our NFL winners and losers from the opening Sunday.
Get to know the winners, props, plays, parlays, and more with Nielsen and Hustler. Weekday mornings at 11 on The Lock Shop. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
If you've been injured in a car collision, let James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, protect your interests. They'll be there every step of the way to help answer your questions and help you get your life back on track. Trust Alberta's precedent-setting injury lawyers with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, call James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, 780-428-0088, or go to jameshbrown.com.
Conveniently located 10 minutes west of St. Albert, Wheeler's RV Storage will provide you with safe, secure storage for your RV, boat, or whatever you need to store. Open 7 days a week with gated keypad access and extra large stalls. Now is the time to take advantage of their limited time offer. Buy 6 months and get 1 month free. Now's the time to go to WheelersRVStorage.com. That's Wheeler's RV Storage. Safe, secure storage. Visit them today at WheelersRVStorage.com.
Fuse Sausage makes their meat with nothing but the best local ingredients. From chicken, beef, and pork, their gluten-free sausages are packed with flavor. Get your 10% discount when mentioning Edmonton Sports Talk in store at 6736 99th Street, or use the code EST when shopping online at fusesausages.ca. Plus, you get free delivery on orders over $100 or more. Find them at 6736 99th Street. Fuse Sausage. You can't beat our meat.
Aaron Rodgers and his Jets meet the 49ers tonight for Monday Night Football. Join Lieutenant Eric and the Nasties down at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Fort Road for every Monday and Thursday night games. Bills quarterback Josh Allen is cleared to start next week's game against the Dolphins. Allen injured his non-throwing hand during the Bills' 34-28 win in Week 1 yesterday. Staying in the world of football, LA Rams receiver Puka Nacua is considered week to week with a knee injury. He had 4 catches for 35 yards before he was pulled midway through the second quarter against the Lions last night. Over in the NHL, the Edmonton Oilers hit the ice for the captain's gate today after their short offseason. The Oilers' first preseason game is September 22nd against the Jets. Blue Jays pitcher Chris Bassett has been nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award. This award is given to the player that best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to his team. Chris Bassett gets a call on the mound for the Jays in their game tonight against the Mets, with that one starting just after 5. The PWHL announced their inaugural 6 teams this morning with names like the Boston Fleet, the New York Sirens, and the Ottawa Charge. Puck drop for the PWHL doesn't go until January. And right now we have Reid Wilkins and Jay Milne on the Reid Wilkins Show here on Edmonton Sports Talk. I'm Zachary Kubish, and now you're up to date on EST.
show.
Thank you.
You're on holidays for week 1. Great to have you here as we move forward. What do we call you sitting over there? Technical producer, operator?
Rapticum.
The brains.
The brains behind the operation.
I like it.
Okay. Well, it's
I mean,
nice.
that's usually Maddie, though.
It's nice to see you.
But it's you. You're
Nice to
our
see you,
guy.
too.
You're the guy.
I try to be.
No, you are.
You are the
Wow.
guy.
Okay?
Oh,
in
strong
this
words,
room,
man.
you are.
You're going to be the guy.
I can mess up everything or make sure everything
Confidence is the key.
You will not
Take
miss
that
anything up.
victory.
I will not.
Zacticum.
Monday Night Football tonight. We'll talk a little bit more about it later. Lieutenant Eric, he's at Century Casino Fort Road.
Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge.
Oh,
he
sorry.
will be there. Yes, he'll be there tonight. He's going to have the square boards. There will be prizes. It's a fun time. Go see LTE down at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. And you can catch Maddie and I there every Elks pregame and postgame. And we had quite a few interesting characters at our kickoff show and
Besides
postgame show.
Maddie.
Besides Maddie, we had a lady that told us her name was Frank, who really wanted to be on the show. She was almost on Maddie's lap.
Ooh.
And then when I turned the camera to her to say, okay, Frank, here's your 15 minutes. Frank, no! Get that off me. So I was like, all right.
Got shy.
And then she kept asking. She asked, poor Matt deals with the brunt of it because just the setup of it. She asked Matt, had it been a handful of times, do you want a shot? Do you want a shot? To which Matt politely, no, he did not. He did not partake in a shot.
All right. I think we're being audited because Matt's right there on his computer.
Zach, I
in
just
the
want to
doorway.
go.
Like we couldn't even leave if we wanted to because Matt's blocking the doorway.
This is just Matt doing Matt things. He's the coup. This is his baby. He's got to run this ship the way he wants. So I appreciate Matty being here with us. But I will say this. We talked earlier in the show about Olympics. And have you been to the Olympics?
Oh, right, our off-topic topic.
And, what was your experience at the Olympics? Dr. John chimed in and said, I went to the Paris Olympics this summer. I saw basketball, rugby, soccer, and volleyball. Saw France play during a packed Stade de France. It was an incredible atmosphere.
That'd be cool.
Now, Mike from Calgary, if you want to throw this up.
This is great.
He sent this in, and thank you, Mike from Calgary. This is the Collector's Cup that was sold at, I believe, Petro-Canada during the 1988 Olympics. A young Jay Milne would have drank milk from this cup like it was his job.
We might have had some of those too. So if you're watching on, if you're not watching on YouTube, a listener sent in
the cup.
If you're old enough, you know the glass.
It's like the Saddle Dome, and if you don't know, then go back later and rewatch this. The cup, it really prominently features the Saddle Dome and the Calgary Tower. It's a very iconic glass.
Right. That is pretty cool.
I love that glass. Thanks, Mike from Calgary, for sending that one in.
Anything else you want to do on those now or more later?
No, that's good. And Tube Socks does chime in the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-99. He said, Frank was not a handsome woman.
We'll leave it at that.
Tube Socks was there.
James Earl Jones has passed away. I just want to mention this. 93 years of age, incredible life, incredible career. For those of you who have listened to me in the past, you'll know that I'm a big Star Wars fan, and he, of course, was the voice of Darth Vader. I remember reading something about James Earl Jones many years ago, so hopefully I'm remembering the details of this story, but it kind of stuck with me as something I found very interesting. So 1977, James Earl Jones is approached and says, do you want to voice this character named Darth Vader for this movie Star Wars that George Lucas is going to do? It's his crazy little space project. It's probably going to go nowhere. Do you want to do it? James Earl Jones says yes. He voices the lines for Darth Vader. As everybody knows, Star Wars comes out. It's an amazing phenomenon. They make The Empire Strikes Back, and James Earl Jones says, he's asked, do you want to come in and voice Darth Vader's lines again? So he said that he went in and he's voicing the lines, and they kind of get through a few, and like Lucas wouldn't have been there, but whoever the voice kind of leader was, kind of says, I don't know, James, like something's not working. And James Earl Jones says, yeah, something's not working. It doesn't sound right. And they kind of kept doing some stuff. And then he said they realized that he was acting because now he'd seen Darth Vader and he'd seen Star Wars and he'd seen the character as this now famous villain, and he started playing that as opposed to doing what he just did, what he was voicing for Star Wars. I don't know how this movie's going to work. I don't know. And he just read the lines. I mean, obviously there's some inflection and a little bit. So he just kind of went back to, I'll just more or less kind of read the lines. So anyway, I just found that interesting. That's a total side story, Jay.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry, I'm not setting you up for anything.
Reid, that's where we go. That's where we go. It's okay. I actually thought one of James Earl Jones' best, obviously Star Wars is iconic, but Field of Dreams.
He was in that. Yep.
He was in that, and he played a pretty important role in that. But I mean, sad to see his passing for sure.
Well, it was not a Field of Dreams at Foot Field on Friday night.
I thought you'd forget about this.
I went to the Golden
show.
Bears Dinos game. You wound up watching it online, and I hand it to you for sticking to the end. I actually left with 4 minutes left. Dinos beat the Bears 36-22. You probably maybe have seen this already, but I want to say it for anybody who didn't follow the game. There were 5 touchdowns scored in the game. 4 of them were interception returns for touchdown. The last touchdown was the Bears scoring in garbage time. The Bears opened the scoring with a pick 6. They then got a conceded safety by the Dinos. It's 9-0. The Bears offense had hardly even been on the field. And I'm thinking, oh, man, they are going to roll them. Now, they didn't have Matthew Peterson, their running back, who was out for personal reasons.
Clearly a big
He will be back.
loss. Yeah.
But Eli Hettinger was intercepted thrice in the first half, and it was returned for a touchdown. And Calgary got a commanding lead, and the Bears just never. We were talking about the Elks. They looked like the Elks of last season. They could not move the ball. They could not get more than a few yards per play. They really didn't establish anything. They had a couple of drops, or they had receivers not make tough catches when they would have gained yards. Calgary dominated them. So a humbling moment for the Golden Bears, who were number 5 in the country going into that game.
Now, I will say, if there is a time of the season to have said humbling moment, it is early.
Right.
It's right now. That, may knock some of the top 5 ranked in the country cachet off of the players, which is good. Refocus, get together. You just lost to a team mentally. You did not lose physically. Physically, you're a much better team than that opponent. You lost mentally. Your quarterback had a rough game.
Yeah.
Very uncharacteristic of Eli Hettinger to have that. They must not have anything as a backup quarterback, because I was surprised after that sec.
I think he's a rookie.
I don't care. What could be worse?
Yeah.
Right?
Dude,
at least give him some snaps.
Could Peterson not being there
Yes.
throw everything off to that
100%.
extent? I mean, I don't mean to make an excuse, but
No, he's a leader in the locker room. He's an older player on this team. That's huge to have a guy that can come into that huddle and, if things aren't going your way, to soothe everything, rip off a couple big runs. And Opie Shinabui was overused. That's not his strength. He's the guy that's supposed to come in behind Peterson and rip off those runs when Peterson's tired. So clearly it wasn't clicking the way it normally would. But it shows you how much one player can mean to the psyche of a team.
Yeah.
As he is a major leader on offense. The defense didn't play that bad. The defense played pretty darn good.
Well, Calgary didn't really move the ball either.
Calgary did. They
So,
scored.
there was not
they scored 3 pick sixes and 5 field goals.
Yeah.
That's a good.
And they got handed because the Bears started going for it on
the
third
Bears.
down.
The Bears defense gave up 5 field goals.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
All right. So we're going to do our weekend winners and losers, and we'll focus on the NFL because it was the first Sunday yesterday.
Well, we will focus on the Bears because they are clearly the number 1 loser from the weekend. That was rough.
Oh, for Golden Bears, sure.
Have to. Golden Bears football were, you know what? It was an interesting weekend in the NFL. Obviously, Sunday morning, all the buzz and all the talk was about the Tyreek Hill situation. I mean, you have a player that's driving to the stadium. Reports are that it was that he was speeding, then to be put in handcuffs and detained briefly, albeit it was briefly. That was an interesting situation. I know there's a lot more serious things in the world, but we're not here necessarily to always bring you those things. We're here to bring you sports and a relief from sports and a relief from the real world. For Tyreek Hill to go to the touchdown, 80-yard reception touchdown from Tua, to go to the handcuff celebration. Let us know what your thoughts are on it.
Was it Scheffler in golf that happened to him?
Scheffler, that happened to him, yes, and he was actually detained. I think Tyreek Hill was not even taken to the station per se.
Right.
I believe he was detained on site. But to hit the "I'm being arrested, handcuff me, Selly," after that, wow. Okay.
So is he a winner or a loser then?
I don't know. Loser, winner? You know, it's okay to be two things at once, but I don't know. I just had to bring it up. You know who was a loser and who is right now? Now, I'll preface this with this is week 1. A lot of things can change.
Everything that has happened will continue to happen for the rest of the season. That's what Jay is saying.
Yeah. Please, don't quote Reid on that one, but the Bengals look terrible. They lose to New England, who we talked about last week on this show as a bottom feeder of the NFL. The Bengals go out and lose 10-16. New England or Cincinnati was the biggest favorite to lose. They were +9. They were favored by 9 points, and they lose by 6. Joe Burrow's tied for the highest paid QB in the NFL. He averaged 6 yards per attempt. He averaged 6 yards an attempt. That is not good. I mean, and this goes back to the holdout situations in the NFL. Jamar Chase held out. He said he will dress, but he'll only play limited snaps because money.
Right.
T. Higgins was not available. So Joe Burrow's looked a little bit normal, one might say. And yeah, Zach, if you want to throw that up whenever you get it, it's for those who may not have seen the Tyreek Hill celebration. It was one to see. There it is. Yeah, that's the, I believe Jalen Waddle
You
is
got a buddy to
handcuffing him and taking him off the field. Maybe a little bit too soon. Zach, what do you think of that?
I don't really think it's a good look to get arrested and then show up to a game and do that. Like, some of the celebrations I think are silly. He was speeding. He didn't do anything. I guess he was pulled over supposedly for reckless driving or dangerous driving. Or whatever it is along those lines. Just, he has a nice car. He's going fast. But if you get pulled over, he made it to the game. That's great.
He did. He did.
Getting that touchdown and doing that, I was amazed and both shocked at that, because I know they get fined for throwing out the football. Like, if they celebrate, get a touchdown, throw the football.
No, I think you
into
just
the
have
stands.
to pay for it. I don't think it's necessarily a fine.
Okay,
like, if you give it to a young fan in the stands, you're not getting fined.
You can't give away the other team's ball if you score
No,
a
you can
defensive
pay
touchdown.
for it. I think you just have to pay for it.
I thought you got a penalty. Okay.
Really? That would be news to me.
It was happening more a few years ago because teams were using their own anyway.
Any Cleveland Browns fans out there, put your hand up and put your paper hat on.
Okay,
because that
Jack
was
Michaels.
that was disgusting. Deshaun Watson, whose contract, by the way, we talked a lot about contracts in the past, Reid, and how a lot of it is upfront money, but half is upfront, half is no. Deshaun Watson's is an anomaly. It is fully guaranteed, all of it.
Oh, all of it.
All.
So it doesn't matter how bad he plays.
All of it. They gave up, and they also gave up the first three first round picks to get him. He went 24-45 for 169 yards and 2 interceptions. Ugh.
Cowboys trampled him.
Cowboys looked good.
I flipped to that game once it was already over, so I can't tell you how he played.
Cowboys looked good.
The last 8 minutes.
Buffalo looked good.
Bro, they recovered. They were down
recovered and
17-0.
looked good. Josh Allen discovered that. I think he remembered that maybe halfway through the first or second quarter that he is a good quarterback and he can run the ball and he can throw the ball like a gunslinger. They win. They look good. Probably the best looking team, and okay, I get it. They were playing against the Giants. The Giants look like a dumpster fire right now. But Minnesota with Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback looked really good. 28-6 over the Giants. And Detroit pulled out the win last night in the Sunday night football game. We both watched that game. very entertaining.
Yeah, I know it was 3-3 for a while, but teams were moving the ball. I like how both those coaches coach. I don't have. You actually have. I had the Bengals as a negative. I had Detroit as winners.
I think everybody's seen enough of the Tyreek Hill celebration.
Yeah, we just want to make sure.
Young Zachary.
I will
just put it back onto Reid's beautiful face.
I will just add another. Well, I'll put a group of people in the losers column.
Ooh, I like this.
Fans of kick returns were losers on the weekend. 63.5% of the kickoffs went for touchbacks. That's down from 73% last season, all of last season. So I think they were hoping that almost every kick would be returned, or maybe 80%, as opposed to the teams saying, well, we'll still probably kick it through the end zone most of the time. That was pretty disappointing.
I'm going to ask Jed that, because Jed, I saw Dustin tweeted something about these kickoffs, and Jed made a pretty clear response that he's not a fan of them, but I wonder if they may have it right. They just need to tweak a few things about it, because yes, it seems somewhat obsolete. Mind you, there still was one kickoff return that was returned for a touchdown. There was another one that was returned for a pretty adequate return. So, and remember I was talking, because you're lined up so close to each other as a return team and a kickoff team. We saw our first, counter where they had pulling players that left their we were talking about that. So yes, it is getting creative, but I think what they do need to do, and I'll ask Jed about it, because a kickback or a touchback puts the ball on the 35-yard line.
30.
Or sorry, 30.
If it goes through the end zone.
If it goes through the end zone. The average return was to the...
Which was the guess we had last week. So it's like the 28.5. So they said, okay, just
so you're
kick
giving
it
up an extra 2 yards for nothing. I think they need to change that.
Make
That's
it
where
the
the
40.
tweak. Make it a problem.
It's the same as
kicking it out of
bounds. If you
I
kick it out
agree.
the back or into the it's the 40. We are in the James H. Brown studio. James H. Brown Personal Injury Law Firm, the heavy hitters of injury law with over 200 years of experience. James H. Brown will get you the settlement you deserve. Visit them at jameshbrown.com. Book your private consultation today. I will have my top 3 pet peeves in football from the weekend and EE alum Jed Roberts when we get back. Zach, sports update, go now.
Aaron Rodgers and his Jets meet the 49ers tonight for Monday Night Football action. Join Lieutenant Eric and the Nasties down at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Fort Road for every Monday and Thursday night. Staying in the world of football, LA Rams receiver Puka Nacua is considered week to week with a knee injury. He had 4 catches for 35 yards before being pulled midway through the second quarter against the Lions last night. Blue Jays pitcher Chris Bassett has been nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award. This award is given to the player that best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to his team. Chris Bassett gets the call to mound for the Jays tonight in their game against the Mets. First pitch is just after 5. This sports update is brought to you by Wheeler's RV Storage, conveniently located 5 minutes east of St. Albert. Wheeler's RV is your safe and secure place to store your RV, boat, or whatever it is you want to store. Visit them at wheelersrvstorage.com to take advantage of their limited time offer. Buy 6 months, get 1 free. Go to wheelersrvstorage.com today and get your storage needs taken care of. And coming up on the Reid Wilkins Show, Alumni Jed Roberts joins Reid and Jay. I'm Zachary Kubish, and now you're up to date.
Get all the latest news and takes on everything Oilers with Dustin Nielsen and Tom Gazzola on the Oil Stream. Live at noon, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. Only on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Since 1952, William Huff has been the heartbeat of Edmonton's advertising world. From humble beginnings to a citywide powerhouse, we've been the go-to for print, design, and installation. Partnering with Edmonton's top sports franchises and major events, we've helped shape the city's global reputation. Our secret? Unmatched customer service, decades of expertise, and a passion for excellence we call the William Huff Advantage. For advertising solutions that stand out, choose William Huff. Visit us at williamhuff.com.
Few of us can say that we're over 60 and still hot, but Mr. Mike's Burger can. And to celebrate over 60 years of Mr. Mike's famous burger, you're invited to taste history for only $8.99 at Mike Burger Madness. Savor the original flame-grilled Mike Burger on their signature garlic French loaf for a limited time. Dine-in only price of just $8.99. Sides extra. It's Mr. Mike's Mike Burger Madness, and you'd be mad to miss it. Offer ends September 30th. Eat locally, enjoy casually.
Gallo LLP is an Alberta-based accounting firm with expert chartered professional accountants in both our Edmonton and Sherwood Park accounting firms. Our experienced and innovative accountants provide financial advice that saves our clients money. Simply put, we help our clients protect their assets and grow their businesses. At Gallo LLP, they go beyond the numbers to ensure the continued success of your business. Reach out to Preet or John to discuss how they can help your business grow. Visit gallollp.ca today and see how they can help you take your business to the next level.
Tuning in. Hope you're having a great afternoon. 23 minutes after 4 if you're listening or watching live. Of course, you get us on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, iHeartRadio app, TuneIn Radio app, podcast wherever you get your podcast, YouTube if you want visuals. We are a handsome couple. And we're going to bring someone even more handsome onto the show. One of my favorite guys to talk to, weekly guest here on the Reid Wilkins Show, Double E alum, Jed Roberts, checking in. Jed, how are you doing, sir? Jed, you have us? How are you doing?
I'm not getting any volume.
Okay, well, you just
I can't hear you guys.
All right, well, Zach will work on that connection. That's why he's here. Appreciate Jed's honesty. We'll get him on in a second. So he'll have a comment on the kickoff, and of course he'll dive into the Elks, who have totally turned things around. As I mentioned, the Oilers had a casual skate earlier today at the downtown community arena. Leon Draisaitl and Jeff Skinner answered some questions today. Connor McDavid will speak tomorrow. There was a bit of a hush over both benches and the assembled media for a while. McDavid briefly kind of got knocked down. I think it looked like sort of an inadvertent partial collision, I believe, with Arvidsson as they were crossing paths along the blue line, and McDavid sort of gathered himself for 15 or seconds or so and then got up and went to the bench and did not miss a shift. Yes.
Jed says he'll be back on it. He's on it. I think he figured it out from his end. He'll be back in here in about 2 minutes.
How many times has that happened to someone now, especially when we're right in the pandemic and using Zoom a lot? And now I think it's still used and it's easier to meet. But whereas that you're the person delaying the meeting and you're talking, can anybody hear me? Can anybody hear you? And people are in the live chat.
A lot of times it was
Chet,
mute.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, you're muted. You're muted.
Or I noticed with this computer, and if people saw me when I would do my hits on Global every Wednesday morning, or last week I was on EST with Tom was doing the morning show. So I have that mic I plug in, and for some reason, sometimes the computer recognizes it. And then sometimes it's still saying, no mic connected, and you have to go into the settings and say, no, don't use this mic, use my mic that's plugged in. I also learned, though, when people are in Zoom and they want to raise their... This is a pointer that might help people.
I think I can hear Jed right now.
Jed, are you there?
I am. I'm here.
Okay,
Sorry
Jed's
about that.
here. No, it's okay. Jed, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really good. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. So.
Do we have an echo now? I'm hearing an echo.
Aha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now we got you. There he is.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Look at you.
But
You're looking so good and handsome up there,
What I was
Jed.
going to say, if you don't see the button on Zoom that says raise hand, if you click Alt-Y, it'll raise your hand for you. All right. Go ahead, Jay.
Nice. All right. Well, yeah. No, I'm really glad to be here today. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
about
we
that.
brought you on to discuss nothing about football, but more about Zoom complications throughout the pandemic. How about that? Okay, listen, let's get into this, Jed, because I know you have an opinion about it and possibly a strong thought, but I'm not even going to give you any direction as to what I think should happen here. But we're talking NFL kickoff rule changes. And whether these, I know it's something to groan about. Are they? I mean, okay. Let me just say this, and you, as a former professional football player, know this as well. The NFL at first said this was about player safety. That's not true. They do not care about player safety. I'll just say that they have done several things in the past that would say that they do not care about player safety. You can say that all you want, but I disagree with that. Secondly, it was to maybe induce more returns, which, okay, I get that. But now what's happening is clearly not the case. They're kicking it through the end zone for a touchback and really hardly being penalized for it. What do you see, and how do you fix this?
Well, I think you back the kicker up, and then you make him kick it to where he can't kick it through the end zone, and then you're forced to have a return. Like, I think as long as they're doing that touchback thing, you're going to have to move the kicker back. Like, if you actually really want to have a return, then that's a pretty simple fix. But I'm with you, Jay. I don't think they really want to fix it. I don't, it's really frustrating to see them do that, because I was really looking forward to seeing more action on kickoff return, because there's nothing more depressing, especially at the end of the game when there's an overtime, and you're kicking off, and that's when you want to see like a good return. Like, you want to see a guy break it, or you want to see a big hit, or I don't know. I don't think it's about player safety. I think they're probably paying lip service to the idea of doing something different, and then they'll probably just phase it out altogether, which is pretty heartbreaking when you consider, the history of the kickoff in the NFL and all the other leagues around the world. So,
well, and Jed, I mean, that's where your bread was buttered throughout your career. You were, and still are, one of the most prolific special teams players to ever put on the double E and don the green and gold. Speak to those that don't know just how terrifying it is to be on kickoff team, kickoff return team, and to know that there is massive people running at very fast speeds that are looking to take your head off.
Well, it wasn't terrifying for me. I loved it. Like, I thought it was,
you were one of the massive people, though.
Yeah, but I'm also a little bit weird, right? So I always, like, for the person who doesn't really watch football, when I'm trying to describe it to just the everyday citizen, I say, well, have you ever played Red Rover? And they're like, oh, yeah, I used to play Red Rover. Yeah, well, that's Red Rover. Like, you just run, and then you just try to break through the wedge. And, I did that for years. That was there's nothing out there, and I think Jay could probably attest to this too. There's no real life equivalent to running down on kickoff, the feeling that you get. I'm sure it's probably the same as like skydiving, which I'm too chicken to do that. But, it's probably funny hearing me say that when I'm talking about running down on kickoff and running into, 300 and whatever pound guys at a full speed. But there's an adrenaline rush that associated with doing that, oh man, every time you do that, you're like, oh, I didn't get hurt that time. So it's indescribable, the feeling of the wind rushing through your helmet and the big collisions that happen, and the ball popping out, and people yelling, and then the piles at the end, and the unspeakable things we do to each other. There's just nothing. You can't really. There's no real life equivalent to that. So I miss it. I still have dreams about it, but it's sad to me to see them doing away with it. I understand and I get it, because it's not for the faint of heart, but it's the end of an era for sure.
Well, there is real life equivalences to these, Jed, and they're called physical assault. And
they're called felonies.
Yeah, felonies. That's right. But no, and I know Reid's got a couple. I'm just going to hop over north of the border here and talk about a team that you're obviously still very close with and still very attached to. I'm just going to make it a broad question. I mean, what did you think of that game Saturday? Were you in attendance? What was your thoughts on the vibes of a sold-out lower bowl at Commonwealth Stadium?
You know, it's funny how focused things get when you've got one person making the calls. You know, you got a guy that's saying, this is what we're going to do. Okay, yes, sir. And boom, it happens. And things happen so much quicker. I think when you streamline processes in this day and age, things happen a lot quicker. And, you know, his decision to drive through the Calgary bench on game day. You know, Mad Dog Larry Thompson ain't playing around, man. You know, he shot one across the bow, and that's been a long time since we shot anything, you know, so let alone put it across the bow. So that was nice. I mean, the rivalry's back. Calgary, we took 2 from them. It's nice to see the team kind of rallying around the new ownership, and people are playing with passion. They're playing with focus. I think that all 3 sides, you know, they need to work on their kickoff and the punt coverage a little bit. But, you know, Logan's no walk in the park for sure, the returner for Calgary there. But, you know, I like Edmonton's 3-headed monster there that they have at running back. You know, you pick your poison, you know, and they're able to tee off on guys on first down. And that just opens up your playbook when you're able to do that, you know, and the offensive line just plays with a lot more confidence when they're the ones delivering the blows. I think that starting 5 right now, they finally figured out a group that they can, you know, they basically dictating the tempo, you know, from the opening snap. And it doesn't matter who you put back there. You know, if you're going to start Ford the next game, who do you stop? Like, you can't. Ford can run a 4-3, you know, and so I pity the edge guy that has to run down there on slide technique on the outside looking at that RPO, because if Ford pulls it, you're not catching him. So there's just it's a good time to be an Edmonton Football Club fan for sure. Some exciting things happening on both sides of the ball. I really like the defense is starting to establish their identity. They're ball hawks on the secondary. They've got 3 solid linebackers, you know, Niles is having a lights out year again. He's leading the league in tackles, and you know Oakman. You know you're not going to run through that guy. He's 6'9", 300 pounds, and he just looks so great in the uniform. You know, like so it's a good time to be an Edmonton football fan again. You know, and they're on a roll, and it's nice to see with the weather changing here slowly but surely. When the snowflakes start to fly, that running game is going to take them as far as they want to go, I think.
Jed Roberts joining us this afternoon. Jed, we had Jarious Jackson on the show earlier, and he said in terms of things he changed from Chris Jones, he just said, you know, having more of a routine, better scheduling, and we've heard all this stuff with Jones that, you know, players didn't know when practice was going to start when they showed up to the stadium, that he would extend practices and spur of the moment, which all sounds kind of strange to me, but apparently that was, you know, part of the story for this year's team. Can you touch on how routine and structure on non-game days can help team performance on game days?
Well, I think it's just human nature. Like, you want to know what to expect, right? I mean, when you've got somebody that keeps changing things and moving the goalpost and tinkering, and I think that Chris is his own worst enemy sometimes, and he's just forever tinkering and forever trying something different. And that's one of the things that's probably his biggest strength, is also his biggest downfall. And I think that you can be too much of a good thing sometimes. And I think that he got to the point now where, you know, I know that he's a smart guy and he didn't, you know, become a bad football coach overnight, but I think he was just doing too much of that. And I think that it wore thin. And you're absolutely right. Like, guys want to know what time practice is starting. Guys want to know, you know, that's one thing that Ron Lancaster, our great head coach here in the 90s, he was predictable. Like, we did it the same thing every week. Like, if our game was on Saturday, we knew what to expect on Tuesday. We knew what to expect on Wednesday. You know, Thursday was Aura Day. You didn't touch anybody, you know, and Friday was the day before the game. And, you know, everything was very, very structured. I could tell you, I played for 9 years with Ronnie, and I could tell you we did the same thing in year 9 that we did in year 1. So it was never, and that's one of the reasons why we were so consistent, and it's one of the reasons why we were always in the mix at the end of the year. And I'm starting to see that with this group. You know, I spent a lot of time with Niles Morgan in the off season here, and talked to him about that, about, you know, guys sticking around. And he's one of those guys that just said, you know what, him and Gavin Cobb, they decided that they were going to stick around and build it and set down roots and build a community. And that's what happens, right? When guys stick around, you look at clubs around the league, the clubs that do well have guys that do that. For the longest time, that was Calgary, and for a while there, it was Saskatchewan. And, that's how you build a winning team. That's a recipe for success is continuity, structure, consistency, having your same guys and the relationships being strong and knowing what to expect. I mean, when you look at an abusive relationship, what's the abuse in there? What's change? You don't know what to expect. Everything's always, you don't know. You're always walking on eggshells. And I'm not saying that Chris Jones was abusive, but it was abusive, because people didn't know what to expect. You never knew where you stood with that guy, I think. And I think, when you have that, I know Don Matthews would do that too, and he would get a little too carried away, but then he would go someplace and learn his lesson and start over, and he would be a little bit more consistent, and he would have success again. So it's a fine line when you coach that way, right? Like he's a riverboat gambler, and I think that sometimes people get a little bit fed up with it and want to have a little bit more predictability, and we're seeing that because I said to everybody from day one here, we had the talent, like physically on paper. This Edmonton team is as good, if not better, than everybody in the league. And I think that's you're starting to see that now because Jarious has settled everybody down and says, listen, guys, I'm not gonna change anything last second. Let's just concentrate on the things that we can control. And that's, what you're seeing on the field kind of speaks for itself.
Well, yeah, 5 wins in their last 6 and really pretty dominant wins over a Calgary team that now you look at and say that they should beat, and they play them one more time this season. All right, Jed, thanks for hopping on. Of course, you're going to be on every week. We love talking sports with you, and the great thing about you is you're a big Oilers. So do you have something else?
Jed, I just want the update. I know Salisbury won. Did the Rams win? Did Sherwood Park Rams win?
No, the Rams played the West End Raiders, and they're a young team, and they it was back and forth, and the Raiders are one of the better teams in the league, and they were up, I think it was 16-7 at halftime, and then the Rams were able to claw their way back, and they were winning with like 30 seconds left, and then the West End Raiders run that old school wing tee, and they caught one, and they got our edge guy sleeping, and they ran like a long touchdown there with like 30 seconds.
Oh,
I was really proud of the kids played really, really well. Like they fought really hard to get back in the game. And just, you know what, there's no losses, there's just wins and lessons, right? So, and this was a good lesson for us. You can't take your foot off the pedal, not for 1 second, man, especially not against a good team like the West End Raiders. So hats off to West End.
Well, the Golden Bears football learned a lesson this week, and the Sherwood Park Rams learned a lesson this week. So there you go. Football is all about learning. Jed, thank you. Thank you for coming on. We look forward to seeing you every week, and have a great week, brother.
Hey, you too, man. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Jed Roberts, Double E alum. I mean, he is so fun to listen to. I mean, he's to me, he's the perfect combination of entertaining, because he'll tell you things that being on a kickoff cover team is almost as thrilling as skydiving. But then he's also, self-deprecating enough to say that he would never go skydiving. But he backs it up with the information, the experience, and the knowledge, and the why. So I could listen to Jed all day.
And he tells it like it is.
20 minutes a week that we're going to get him.
Yeah, he tells it like it is. And for Jed, we're scratching the surface here of, story time with Jed, getting in somebody else's helmet with Jed, coaching with Jed. Yeah. He's done it all. He's been through a lot. He's his father, Jed Roberts, was a CFL champion, Kansas basketball player back in the day. I mean, he's just got such an amazing story. So we are very lucky to have him as one of our regulars.
And it's probably worth mentioning, because I guess I kind of reach a point where Jed's been in the community for a long time. I've interviewed him several times, and I kind of assume people have the knowledge I have. But I should just quickly mention, Jed is hearing impaired and played in the CFL with hearing aids, and not being able to hear audibles from his teammates as a defensive lineman. So he had to kind of know what his teammates were adjusting to while he's down in his stance. He's like, well, I'm seeing this, so I got to assume everybody else is calling this out, because I can't hear what I know he's told that story a lot, but maybe someday we'll dive into that with him a little more. Okay, that was Jed. Great to hear him. We're going to dive deeper into the Oilers skate today. Tom Gazzola is going to join us for the Oil Understood for GCL Diesel a little bit later on. And when we get back, top 3 things that annoyed me in football over the weekend. Jay's just like, why is he doing this? Oh, I'm doing it.
No, I'm not.
First
Why
time.
are you doing this? Let's bring it on.
Aaron Rodgers and the Jets meet the 49ers tonight in Monday Night Football action. Join Lieutenant Eric and the Nasties down at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Fort Road for every Monday and Thursday night NFL day. Staying in the world of football, LA Rams wide receiver Puka Nacua is considered week to week with a knee injury. He had 4 catches for 35 yards before he was pulled midway through the second quarter in the game last night against the Lions. Blue Jays pitcher Chris Bassett has been nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award. The award is given to the player that best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to his team. Chris Bassett gets the call on the mound for the Jays tonight in their game against the Mets just after 5. This sports update is brought to you by Sit and Sleep. The wait is now over. Sit and Sleep is now open. Celebrate with over 20,000 square feet of savings on the trendiest furniture, home decor, and mattresses. Apply for your Sit and Sleep card today to make no payments for 18 months interest-free. Join us on location Saturday to celebrate Sit and Sleep's grand opening in South Edmonton Common next to Planet Fitness. And coming up, it will be Reid's top 3 most things that he finds most annoying about football from this past weekend. And also Tom Gazzola will be joining the show to talk about the Edmonton Oilers and their skate that went down today. I'm Zachary Kubish, and now you're up to date on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
You want the heavy hitters on your team, both on and off the ice. If you've been injured in a car accident, call the heavy injury law. James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers. With over 200 years of combined injury law experience, their precedent-setting lawyers are ready to help. Locally owned and proud Edmonton Oilers fans, James H. Brown and Associates wants to support you with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, head to jameshbrown.com.
Your brand deserves more than just a whisper. It deserves a buzz. At the Hive Product Market and promotion products that bring the buzz. From eye-catching giveaways to unforgettable keepsakes, they got the perfect products to make your brand stand out and get noticed. Visit the Hive Product Marketing and let them create the buzz your business deserves. The Hive Product Marketing, the official merch partner of Edmonton Sports Talk. Visit them online at thehiveproductmarketing.com.
Get ready, Edmonton. The moment you've been waiting for is here. It's time to celebrate the best of the best with the Esties, as we honor everything from Edmonton Sports Talk's incredible first year. Join us on September 17th at Metro Cinema for an unforgettable night of excitement, laughter, and recognition. Tickets are just $10. Secure your spot by emailing Matt at EdmontonSportsTalk.com. And after the show, let's keep the party going at Hudson's White Ave for the official after party. Mark your calendar, grab your tickets, and get ready to celebrate the best moments of EST. It's the Esties, September 17th.
You are listening to Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton sports. Just had Jed Roberts on the show. Tom Gazzola will check in a little bit later on. We are slowly getting to Oilers season. They some of them skated today. Training camp next week. First day on ice next Thursday. They have a preseason game in 2 weeks. The 22nd. That's less than 2 weeks. Sunday the 22nd. That'll be a fun weekend. Elks home to the Bombers on the Saturday. Oilers home to the Jets in a preseason game. Not as important. That's going to be on the Sunday. All right. So we watched a lot of football over the weekend. Both of us did. I was the only one who sat there getting annoyed about things. I have my top 3. What?
I beg to differ.
Well, you got to maybe you got annoyed too.
There was a lot of annoying things. I mean, if you own any fantasy football, if you're in a league, you're annoyed several times throughout the day.
My top 3, as always, presented by Fuge Sausages, the best sausages you will ever eat, locally made, packed full of flavor. You can order online, or you can go visit them in person. 6736 99th Street. And remember to take advantage of their Edmonton Sports Talk discount. 10% off your order by entering an online code, simply EST, or just mention Edmonton Sports Talk in store, and they have free delivery in Edmonton on orders over $100. As Fuge Sausage says, you can't beat our meat. So top 3 things that annoyed me from watching football over the weekend. I'm going to start at Commonwealth Stadium on Saturday. Now, the crowd was great, as we talked about. The crowd was rewarded with a victory and a lot of exciting plays by the home team. But the crowd, some people in the crowd annoyed me on twice. You know who Jake Julian is? He's the punter.
Yes.
He punts a long way. Sometimes he punts a little further than he should, or a little straighter than he should.
I believe the term is out-kicking your coverage.
So in the first quarter, he had a 76-yard punt single. The Elks were on their own 51. He punts it into the end zone. They get a point. Then he had an 85-yard punt single. The Elks were on their own 37, and he bombed it into the Calgary end zone for a single point. Some people were losing their minds, like cheering as if McDavid had just gone end-to-end in overtime to win a game. And I'm sitting there thinking, he has missed those punts.
Yeah.
He was trying to angle them closer to the sideline so they go out of bounds inside the 20. Now, a point's a point. It's great to score, but we've been having this debate about the Rouge all summer because that game that ended on the Rouge. That is not a Rouge you want unless it's the last play of a tied game. And that's why there is a Rouge, because if there's no point, Calgary's never going to run it out. They at least they have to think about the one bounce through the end zone. But folks, that was not the play Jake Julian was trying to make. So Edmonton's at their own 51. He punts it into the end zone. It's a Rouge. Calgary comes out to the 40, and as a result, gets a field goal on the next drive because they didn't have to get very many yards to be in field goal range. So points are not always good. So in football, or it's not the preferred outcome.
Your gripe is with the fans cheering.
I'm sorry. Yes, the ones that cheer Rouge, and I'm trying to educate them as well. Where I'm like, think about the trade-off here. It's I believe the first one was when it was scoreless. It's scoreless. It's early in the game. You're jockeying for field position, for momentum, for tempo, and your punter booms it into the end zone when he's trying to kick it out of bounds inside the 20, or at least make the guy catch it on the 12.
Yeah, like that's ideal.
Right.
He was trying to nail, and what the term for that kind of kick is a coffin corner punt.
Right.
Where you angle it out of bounds, anywhere from the 5-yard line to the goal line pylon, and then that offense has to start from there.
Yeah.
But when you miss those punts and they dribble into the end zone, mission not accomplished.
Right.
But you do get a point, but it's not really one you want to cheer for.
It's not worth what you're giving the other team in field.
No.
You'd sooner have them inside their own 20 as opposed to on the 40. Yeah, and I know people can argue, well, what if that point matters later? Okay, but at that point in the game, the field position matters more.
I like that one.
I mean, if Calgary's pinned on that first punt, they don't get a field goal. They weren't proficient enough moving the ball.
So number 1, Rouge off punt.
Rouge off punt, don't cheer.
Stupid fan. Fan or fans? I forget.
There were several fans who were very excited. Now, it looked majestic. Okay. He can kick the ball a long way. I mean,
he's very skilled.
If he were on his own 20 and could put it in the other team's end zone for a Rouge, then I'd say great, because an average punter would only put it to the other team's 4. If you could do both, or if there might be 40 seconds left in the first half. Okay, maybe try to get a free point out of it and then hope you don't give up a field goal right at the end of the half. But that's not an exciting play. That doesn't deserve the cheer. I even looked at my dear mom, and she just was like, did the head shake. We didn't even need to say anything. She just knew, why are they cheering the Rouge?
Oh, God bless her. She's a national treasure.
So anyway, so you at least understand where I'm coming from on that one.
I do. And Rip City Step is in on the Paris Jewelers inbox. Said, I'll cheer a Rouge every time. Well, Rip City Step, Reid thinks you're stupid.
I do not. And by the way, I think
that's a direct quote.
That's a great handle, by the way.
He knows.
I'm not saying, okay, I guess my more of, to clarify, it's not, if you want a golf clap, okay, we got a point. Okay, we'll take it. I get it. A point's a point. But like, there were some people who were excited. Like, it was like a field goal level cheer.
And of course, I don't actually think Reid thinks you're stupid.
No, I don't think
making
that.
a very good point. And you're trying to help them
think
along
about the
here.
strategy and the trade-off.
Yeah, the trade-off. It's a trade-off.
So I say, hey, okay, he punted it far. I'll give a little clap. I'll at least make him. But it got too much. It got too loud of a cheer because he missed. Those were misses.
Yes.
And we talked about a point for a missed field goal. Well, that's a point for a punt he didn't execute. I was going to say poorly, not poorly, but he didn't execute the punt the way he wanted to. That's number one. Number two. So this specifically was in the Seahawks game yesterday because I watched that game. That's my favorite team. So that's the game I watched. And I've heard this at other points in the NFL, and people who watch NFL will probably know this. So the Seahawks are on their 1 yard line, and they are called for holding in the end zone. What's the enforcement of holding in the end zone?
Safety.
A safety. So the referee says, we have holding, Seattle, number whatever. The foul occurred in the end zone. By rule, that is a safety. And I haven't heard CFL officials do this as often, but it seems like they do it in the NFL by rule. Well, yes, you're the ref. We're assuming that's the rule. You don't have to say by rule. And then now I'm thinking, so if they don't say by rule, should we assume they're just making it up? Like we got procedure number 77, I don't know, 7-yard penalty. We're not going to pay. We're not going to, not by the rule. That's a 7.5-yard penalty. So why do they say by rule? To remind us, like, hey, don't worry, everybody. We checked. Like, we can trust you. You're the ref. Just announce it in as little words as possible.
Okay, so I think by rule, we'll say, look, this isn't me making up this decision. This is a bona fide NFL rule. If you hold somebody in the end zone, your team is going to give up 2 points and you're going to have to kick it off to the opposing team. Do not blame me. Blame number 54 at left guard who held.
He committed the foul.
And committed the foul. So I think that's I think that's fair. I think they're just trying to keep the boo birds out, you know?
I guess maybe it's their way of saying this doesn't happen a lot, but we're going to remind you we have a rule for this. But again, I think let's say there's a fan who didn't know it's a safety for holding in the end zone. Okay, but if the ref announces it, you would think to yourself, oh, that must be the rule. The ref doesn't have to say by rule. And again, I know it's just a couple of words, but say it in as few words as possible. Keep the game going. Holding, Seattle, number 72. Foul occurred in the end zone. That's a safety. Or you can even say holding in the end zone, number 72, Denver safety. Keep playing the game. By rule. Like, you don't have to say by rule. I hope that Roger Goodell is watching and listening right now. I can't see why he wouldn't be. I like to watch those boys in Edmonton. That's my Roger Goodell impression. He sounds nothing like that, as far as I know. Can we get Roger Goodell's voice on the channel?
Or better yet, just book him in next week.
Just book him for the show. Roger Goodell might call.
Leave a
voicemail.
You are getting clapped back on here a bit.
On which one? The Rouge or the
Rouge?
The by rule.
The Rouge. I think it might be getting taken a little too literal. You're just more or less trying to educate that getting the 1 point isn't the goal.
No, pinning the other team deep is the goal. It does not deserve a loud field goal level cheer like it got.
So, Reid doesn't like when the Elks get points. Got it.
No, that's not what I'm saying
that's
at all.
That's not what you're saying.
What I would like is that Julian pins them at the 10, Calgary punts from their own 10. The Elks get it at the Calgary 45 and then get a touchdown.
Yes, and
that's
also
that's the sequence I'm thinking of.
Scoobs chimes in and said, "Are you seriously criticizing how paying fans in an Elks game want to cheer? Give me a break."
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, if you want to ask me yes or no, yes, I'm criticizing cheering the Rouge with that volume.
Cheering the Rouge, yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay. He said it, Scoobs.
These are things that annoy me, so I can do it however I want.
I love it. I love it. Thanks for listening, Scoobs.
But no, I mean, yeah, you can cheer however you want. That's a fair comment. I'm just saying there's more to that play than, he kicked it a long way and we got a point. The preference on that play is he kicks it out of bounds at the 5.
Punt. Yeah.
Or makes the Calgary, even if he kicks it out of bounds at the 17.
Yeah. Well, yeah, 17's okay. Outside 20
whatever.
would not be good.
Right. Or makes the Calgary player catch it on the 10, and then he's got to try to return it. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying if you think about it from that way, there's no reason to cheer the play with the enthusiasm. Some fans did. Some, not all. And maybe they're not aware of the tactical preference of kicking it coffin corner. That's what I'm saying.
Well, CLB in Airdrie says, "I love Reid's mom's stories. I really think she needs a guest spot on the show similar to Letterman." I've said this. I've said we need to get your mom on the show.
Great. I love Letterman.
I love your mom. She needs to be on the show.
My third, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the third pet peeve because it's the beaten horse, the dead horse. NFL overtime. Both teams don't get the ball in the regular season. Now, you have to score a touchdown to end the game, which is a preference, but it still would have been nice to see the Rams have a chance to respond. In the regular season, the way overtime worked in the Super Bowl, I thought was awesome because San Francisco went first. They got into the red zone. And then, do we go for it and get a touchdown to put more pressure on Kansas City? Or do we kick a field goal, then we lose with a touchdown? Or, do we get a field goal? If we stop Kansas City with a field goal, then we can win with any points. That was interesting. I think the NFL regular season, they should have a shootout format like the NCAA and the CFL do. You start from pick a yard line. You get an equal number of 35 yard in. I think that would be just as entertaining. And as we were talking about, most of the kickoffs are a touchback anyway, so they're pretty much now starting on the 30 to start overtime anyway.
I agree. I couldn't agree more. I think it's
Sunday Night Football.
I think it's unfair to just allow based off of a coin flip, and that's why you see in Thursday night opener where the Ravens thought they scored late in that game. What did Jim Harbaugh do? We're going for two.
Don't leave it to a
coin flip because the odds are in the favor of both teams were hot. Last night, Detroit and LA were hot heading into that.
Yeah.
So they get the ball first. And that was going to be one of my pet peeves was, a running back's backfield that splits the carries because I had David Montgomery as my running back. So thankfully he redeemed himself in the overtime period. So thankfully there was a little bit of a win. But Reid brings more heat than the sun onto the east side of Commonwealth Stadium. Big Slam Nasty in the Nasty chat. Is there a new segment called Reid's Rant? If so, I'm enjoying it.
Well, that's Reid's top three.
Reid's top
that's
three.
What we call it.
But getting the feedback that we're getting, I think it should come from a negative part of your mind. Like
the top three won't always be negative.
I'm ticked off about this. It's electric. It's electric. It's obviously. People like it. The people want to see a pissed off Reid.
Here's my thing, and the one person who said, "Are you telling fans when they can cheer?" No, I'm not trying to do that. Okay, but if you were sitting next to someone at Commonwealth, and Jake Julian bombed the punt into the end zone, and they were like, "Wow, what a great punt! He kicked it like 90 yards," and they stood up and wanted to cheer. When they sat down, would you not say, "Hey, man, like just so you know"? He was actually trying to put it out of bounds, and now Calgary's going to get the ball in a way better spot than they would have otherwise. That point really isn't a big deal. I would hope you would take the time to do that, which is what I'm doing.
You're trying to educate the masses, and
I might be the most helpful person at EST.
I think
in terms of caring about people's enjoyment of football.
That's the first thing everybody said about Reid when we brought him into the fold was describes you as a helpful person who wants to make people's viewing capabilities and abilities of football better.
All right. 780-218-9099. What did I just say? 780-218-9999 is the Paris Jewelers inbox.
You kind of rolled it into a 999.
I just made it one big number. Reid at EdmontonSportsTalk.com is the email. What did the Oilers do today? What does Tom Gazzola think? All in the final hour. And after this break, Zach will have a sports update.
And Lieutenant Eric, weekday mornings 6 to 9 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.
Hi there. If you're like me, you like to picture yourself in luxury, even though there's absolutely no way you could afford it. And if you can, well, even better. Thankfully, I picture myself in something that is luxury, but still absolutely affordable, like the all-new Mazda CX-90 from Park Mazda. With the new luxury features like facial recognition settings and quilted detail Napa leather seating, I can pretend to be comfortable with all of my proper settings activated without even touching a button, thanks to Mitch Lewicki and the great staff at Park Mazda. I like to picture Mitch Lewicki as a ninja fighting off evil samurai.
Park Mazda, your dealer for life in Sherwood Park off Y Road, parkmazda.ca.
Since 1952, William Huff has been the heartbeat of Edmonton's advertising world. From humble beginnings to a citywide powerhouse, we've been the go-to for print, design, and installation. Partnering with Edmonton's top sports franchises and major events, we've helped shape the city's global reputation. Our secret? Unmatched customer service, decades of expertise, and a passion for excellence we call the William Huff Advantage. For advertising solutions that stand out, choose William Huff. Visit us at williamhuff.com.
Conveniently located 10 minutes west of St. Albert, Wheeler's RV Storage will provide you with safe, secure storage for your RV, boat, or whatever you need to store. Open 7 days a week with gated keypad access and extra large stalls. Now is the time to take advantage of their limited time offer. Buy 6 months and get 1 month free. Now's the time to go to WheelersRVStorage.com. That's Wheeler's RV Storage. Safe, secure storage. Visit them today at WheelersRVStorage.com.
The Green Bay Packers don't plan to put Jordan Love on the injury reserve after he suffered a knee injury in his season debut against the Eagles on Friday. With his injury, Jordan Love is expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks with an MCL sprain, but if cleared, Coach Matt LaFleur said he will start next week against the Colts. Tonight, it's Aaron Rodgers taking on the 49ers for Monday Night Football. Join Lieutenant Eric and all the Nasties down at the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Fort Road for every Monday and Thursday night. Staying in the world of football, it was Puka Nacua of the Rams who is considered week to week after suffering a knee injury in his game last night. He had 4 catches for 35 total yards in the game before he was pulled midway through in the second quarter against the Lions. Blue Jays pitcher Chris Bassett has been nominated for the Roberto Clemente Award. This award is given to the player that best exemplifies the game of baseball, sportsmanship, community involvement, and the individual's contribution to his team. Chris Bassett gets the call on the mound for the Jays in their game against the Mets, starting in just 2 minutes. And coming up on the Reid Wilkins show, it will be Tom Gazzola in just about 15 minutes. I'm Zachary Kubish, and now you're up to date on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Studio, James H. Brown Personal Injury Law Firm, the heavy hitters of injury law. With over 200 years of experience, James H. Brown will get you the settlement you deserve. Visit them at jameshbrown.com today. Book your private consultation. You'll hear from Leon Draisaitl in a couple minutes. So I've irritated people. Imagine that.
Yes, clearly.
Took longer than I thought it would.
You're right on point, Reid. Let me get to a couple here. Todd and YYC. Hey guys, I wonder if the fans are cheering for a Rouge because they just like the Rouge.
Oh, maybe.
Screw what is supposed to happen. The Rouge is cool and Canadian and should be celebrated when it happens with a crowd sociable. Okay. That I think they have to say by rule, because it's putting points on the board. Most other calls are just yardage penalties that comes in from Matt Squatch.
So clarifying, okay, why it was announced on this. I heard it in other occasions too, but that's a good explanation
as to why
the NFL
why it would have
officials.
The NFL officials clarified that. And then in regards to your overtime scenarios where only one team gets the ball, Derek V in the nasty chat says it would be like an MLB game ending in extras in the top half. It makes no sense why the other offense doesn't get a rebuttal. We agree with you. I remember. I interviewed Warren Moon once, and I brought up this was, I think they were thinking about changing overtime, and Warren Moon, who is one of the greatest football players ever, I mean, he's in both Halls of Fame, said, well, yeah, but if your defense can't stop a touchdown in overtime, you don't deserve to win. But I still think if you went to a team and said, would you sooner win the coin toss or not? I would think every coach would say, I'd sooner win the coin toss because I might get a touchdown. Absolutely. Look what happened last night.
Right. Even if it's 51-49 percentage.
And that's where, honestly, you look at the depth of that running back position in Detroit. They had a fresh David Montgomery who hardly played in the fourth quarter come in and rush the ball time after time after time after time. I think he had 6 rushes in the overtime period and ended up punching it in for the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, and you could just tell they were going to do it.
That's what we're experiencing here in Edmonton is the joy of riches at the running back position.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah,
but it's nice to have happen to you.
And I'm not, I should clarify, I suppose technically I'm not telling people when they can cheer. I'm just saying that loud cheer in that situation was annoying. It was my pet peeves from the weekend, which I'm allowed to have.
You're allowed your opinion 100%. I think this is from Library Pat. I think Lieutenant Eric would say that he doesn't tell people how to fan. And for the most part, I agree with that. But Reid's annoyance about the missed punt rouge is very well said. Not the intended result of the play. A little education is a good thing.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think that was the premise of it. And quite frankly, if it pisses you off, I'm sorry. What are we going to do? We can't do much about it. It's your opinion on sports. We're just trying to tell you how the game's supposed to be played.
I guess I would say, would you cheer as loud for a Bouchard slap shot that went off the post as you would for one that went in the net? You wouldn't.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll find some people that will.
And you know what? Probably a minority of the people who want Bouchard off the team. If he doesn't score, they can't keep him.
Right, yes.
And this is a minority of the fans, but I heard enough that I was like, you should not be that excited for technically a missed punt. Probably a minority, but enough that I said I'm going to make this an annoyance.
I know, but that's what your conversation is about. It's not about a rouge. It's about that it was a mistake.
Yes.
It would be like cheering for a fumble. Or, I mean, it doesn't have the same, who knows? It could have the same ramifications down the road. You never know that. But at the end of the day, it's simply a mistake.
Yes.
And
I should note, even the people I've annoyed, I love you.
Of course.
I would have a nacho with you.
One nacho?
One nacho. We'd share it. We'd split it in half.
Now, how many times?
Because I'm busy.
How many times? I got to know. How many times would you dip that nacho?
One after it was broken in half.
Oh, so you pre-break in half.
Pre-break in half. So I meet the person I've annoyed.
Both unadulterated
and I'm like,
sides.
look, I like you. I just expressed something you didn't like. It's okay. We'd hold a single nacho each by a corner, snap it in half, and then we would dip on our own.
Like the breaking,
so there's no contaminated saliva dipping.
Instead of the breaking of the bread, it would be the breaking of the nacho.
We'd use a large nacho.
It'd have to be.
And then I'd go to the next person. We could have a lineup of people that I irritated who like rouges, who like missed punts.
I got to be honest with you. I had no idea how polarizing the rouge topic would be here.
Yeah, I didn't think anybody would really care about that. The reason people are mad is because they think I'm telling them how to enjoy a football game.
Fan.
Which I'm not. Like, seriously, if you want to cheer that way, cheer. I'm just saying I personally find it annoying. It's Reid's top 3.
That's right. That's why your name's on the show.
I would personally say that type of play shouldn't have garnered the excitement that it did in the stadium.
It's a fair point. The real not so Slim Shady is in on the Paris Jewelers inbox. And if you want to chime in, 780-218-9999. I'm with Reid on the Rouge cheering when you go from 10,000 fans to over 30,000. Not everyone is going to understand the goals.
I mean, if Boris Beattie kicked a 45-yard field goal through the end zone and got a point, people wouldn't cheer. That's basically what Julian did.
It's a great way of explaining it and putting it into perspective, is that this was not supposed to be. This is not what the special teams coordinator drew up.
Right. But it's fine. I mean, again, if people cheer at Commonwealth, I'm not going to go up and tell them not to.
A lot of people begging to split a nacho with you. They would drive
one single nacho. One.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm imagining that everybody I annoyed today showed up. So that's what, 8 or 9 people? Like, that's a time commitment. And I couldn't share 8 or 9 orders of nachos.
Well, Matt
in
could.
one night.
Matt says he can eat like 50-some hot wing, or not hot wings, salt and pepper chicken wings in one sitting.
Having said that, Jake Julian can pound the snot of the ball.
That is is a secret weapon that the Elks have.
Yeah.
No question. He is consistent. He kicks the ball. Like, we haven't seen a shank from Jake Julian once. Not once.
No, what he does do is, though, and this has happened a few times with him, instead of the coffin corner, he's kept it in play.
That's right.
Which has led to Rouges the Elks
But I mean, like the 25-yard duck off the side of your foot that goes over the opposing team's sideline.
I don't think he's done.
We have
one of
not
those.
seen it.
No.
That's right there. That's a huge difference.
The closest one might have been on Labor Day after MBT got the intentional grounding penalty, and then he punted and it went out of bounds on the 22, and then so then they got a penalty.
Well, and that is such a game changer in football. Field, the where you start your drives and flipping the field, they call it, where you can kick your way out of trouble.
Right.
I mean, it's a game changer.
All right, we good? The nachos appeased people?
I think the nachos are changing people's opinions about you in general. I think they're starting to come around.
Right. All right. We do have the top 3 every day for Fuge sausages. Got to come up with another one tomorrow.
That was a lovely top 3. I like it. I think we're going to have to. I mean, at least twice a week. Okay, no, there's 5 shows a week. I'd say 3 out of the 5 got to be angry Reid shows up.
But I didn't feel angry.
I know, but controversial Reid. Let's say that.
I actually didn't think that topic was going to be controversial at all.
Okay.
But again, I should, because I feel a little, because I really don't try not to tell people what to think. I say that if I think something, I want to explain why I think that. And as people know from when I did Inside Sports too, I said, you can give your opinion, but tell me why. Don't just write in, I hate this. I hate Jordan Eberle. Okay, well, why? Like, give me your report on it.
I mean, there's that, and that's what you know what? That's what you got to love. Even though they're saying, you're wrong, you can't tell me what to do or how to think.
But I'm not telling them how to think.
I know, but they're explaining why.
Well, good.
And that's a good part of conversation.
The standard has been established.
The standard of conversation is not just name calling and saying, you're wrong. It's explaining why. And the fellow that really kicked this off said, we are paying for our seats. If I want to throw my jersey on the ice, I can do that. It's kind of the same argument.
Well, that's something that would get you kicked out, but yes,
sure.
I know what you're saying. Yes.
Construction Curtis says, I'm in for nachos. BP's night with Reid and Glue Guy. And he also says, I agree with Reid about cheering for the Rouge. I would say if we put a poll up.
Well, see, now this is what happens though with topics. A bunch of people come in saying, Reid, you shouldn't be saying this, and then you get the counterpart. Anyway, I am not telling you how to cheer. I'm just saying I don't think that play deserved that much enthusiasm. But cheer for it if you want. Like if a punt Rouge on a missed punt is your cup of tea, go for it. Wait till I do my top 3 X-Men characters someday. That's going to get people going.
Oh.
Because I'm going to tell you something.
Wait.
Gambit's not on the list, everybody.
Oh, earth-shattering. Earth-shattering.
Go ahead. Make my day.
The man has spoken. The man has spoken.
Let's drop in a couple of clips here. Leon Draisaitl spoke after the Oilers' casual skate. He was talking about the team identity.
Well, I think first of all you have to create an identity, right? We're not the same team as last year. There's a lot of the same pieces, but every team creates its own identity, its own look, and its own way of approaching and playing the game. So, like I said, there's a lot of the same pieces, and we definitely want to be a similar style of hockey team, but we're going to be our own team, and we're not going to have anything to do with the team last year, but obviously we're going to try and be even better.
Yeah, you change even a couple people in a group, right? That could change the identity. I liked how he put that. I thought that was a really mature answer by Draisaitl. Yeah, we're coming back. Continuity is important. Maturity is important. Experience. I mean, they're the oldest team in the league. All that is important. But you lose whatever Vinny brought. You lose whatever Fogel brought. You lose whatever energy McLeod had. So now you got to see how it all works. So it'll be a little bit. I mean, I still think they'll be very good, but a little bit of identity. Still some effort to find cohesion. You don't just say, okay, Arvidsson, yeah, do what Fogel did or whatever.
Well, and you must understand that is a major part of why these kind of activities are happening now. Is when you're having time to spend that extra time in the locker room, putting your skates on, putting your tape on your stick. You're just getting those little bits of information from the new guys that are in the locker room, seeing, where are you going to fit in? Because every locker room has, the power ranking of who's this guy, who does this, who's the music guy, who's the quiet guy, who's the guy that doesn't want you to talk to him before they go on the ice, the guy that is very, very outspoken. I mean, all those roles have to be deciphered, and the sooner you do that, the more then you can click in and get rolling once the real live bullets are firing.
That's a really good point, Jay. And I know these, when they're together before these casual skates, it's not the same as a game or even a practice, but that hanging out and some of the stuff we've been talking about and with Jed talking about, like the Elks didn't have a routine or no one practice where you just get to know what guys are like before they go on the ice. And I like Rob Brown used to tell stories from his career that he had a teammate who would be reading a newspaper or reading like up until 30 seconds before the game started. And other guys are pacing around nervous and have to have their full equipment on like half an hour ahead of time so they feel ready. So again, it's not preparing for a game today, but you might start to see little aspects of a guy's personality and realize like, oh, okay, that's him. That's what he needs before we hit the ice. And it's fine.
Yeah, and it's understanding that and respecting it more so as to say, why aren't you focused? Yeah. You're on your phone 10 minutes before the... Well, maybe that's how player X focuses and how he can get the best out of his ability to play the game of hockey. And it's for nobody else to say, but it's getting to know that and understand it so it's not alarming come, preseason or certainly not regular season.
Like they're not telling Victor Arvidsson how to back check or hey, this is how the Oilers do a wrist shot. You better have it in place by time Knobloch's on the ice.
Well, that's why I was saying like last week I was joking about, this captain skate. And how they'd be better off served by going for wings and beer. That's what I mean.
That's what you meant.
That's
right.
what I mean is because you're getting to know somebody that is new to the locker room, new to the organization. This person will ball out or, be a great hockey player, puck out. But you got to get to know them off the ice. And Easy E on the Nasty Chat says, how come EST has never has Oilers players on any of the shows? Well, we're going to go for that, aren't we? We're going to try our best. Whenever we can.
We'll always have tape and recorded interviews. I will say this. It can be difficult to get an Oilers player live on a talk show. And I say that coming from the station that had the broadcast partnership with the Oilers.
Of any station, you would think that station would have the inside line.
And it happened, but it didn't. It didn't happen maybe as much as
I know.
If you're attending a practice, you're expected that you will get your tape and your interviews at practice.
I know, like our dearest Tommy Gazzola, who's coming up after the break here, which we'll get to right away. But he's had some one-on-one time in the past, and
yeah, and I've had guys on Inside Sports for sure. There must have been somebody on in the first year though. I mean, we haven't in the week I've worked here. Must have been a live player.
I know he did a live from the rink with Ryan McLeod last year.
Yeah, so if you get a one-on-one, it's kind of the same. All right, Tom's coming up. Here's Zach.
Christian McCaffrey has been ruled out for tonight's game against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. His sore calf and Achilles, which has been holding him out of action tonight, has been hindering him the entire summer. Make sure to swing by the Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge for the game to catch LTE and the Nasties down there on Fort Road. Lieutenant Eric will be there for every Monday and Thursday night during the NFL season. The Green Bay Packers don't plan on putting Jordan Love on the injury reserve after he suffered a knee injury in his season debut against the Eagles on Friday. With his injury, Jordan Love is expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks, but if cleared, Coach Matt LaFleur said he'll start next week against the Colts. Staying in the world of football, LA Rams receiver Puka Nacua is considered to be week to week with a knee injury. He had 4 catches for 35 total yards before he was pulled midway through the second against the Lions. And at the bottom of the first, it is the New York Mets and the Blue Jays tied at 0. The Mets enter the game 78-65 throughout the year, and the Blue Jays record stands 68-76. Coming up on the Reid Wilkins Show to talk about the Oilers' captain's skate is EST's very own Tom Gazzola. I'm Zachary Kubish for your Edmonton Sports Talk update.
If you've been injured in a car collision, let James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, protect your interests. They'll be there every step of the way to help answer your questions and help you get your life back on track. Trust Alberta's precedent-setting injury lawyers with their unrivaled experience, unrivaled results, and unrivaled commitment. When accidents happen, call James H. Brown and Associates, Alberta Injury Lawyers, 780-428-0088, or go to jameshbrown.com.
Fuge Sausage makes their meat with nothing but the best local ingredients. From chicken, beef, and pork, their gluten-free sausages are packed with flavor. Get your 10% discount when mentioning Edmonton Sports Talk in store at 6736 99th Street, or use the code EST when shopping online at fusesausages.ca. Plus, you get free delivery on orders over $100 or more. Find them at 6736 99th Street. Fuse Sausage. You can't beat our meat.
Hey Edmonton, ready to take advantage of lower rates and better pricing? South Fort Chevrolet in Fort Saskatchewan has you covered. From rugged trucks to sleek SUVs. And with over 40 years in business, you can trust that you're getting the best deal on your new ride. As the proud title sponsor of the Nielsen Show, EST listeners can drive a little to save a lot with South Fort Chevrolet's transparent pricing and down-to-earth sales team. Visit us today in Fort Saskatchewan or online at southfortchev.com.
At A&W, you can start the morning off right with a regular coffee and an egger of your choice for just $4.99. Bacon and egger or sausage and egger on a seeded bun or an English muffin? The choice is yours. But we know it'll be tasty either way. And to make matters even more delicious, this offer is available all day. But don't snooze on this deal. An egger and a regular coffee for only $4.99 is a limited time price. Available at participating A&W restaurants in Greater Edmonton.
Oh my goodness, it is time for the Oil Understood, presented by our friends at GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around. From turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors, they are the critical engine component experts. Proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years, and now a proud partner of Edmonton Sports Talk and the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. GCL Diesel. Diesel understood.
I love the break.
Thank you.
And actually, somebody that's really familiar with GCL Diesel is our next guest. I don't even know if we can call him friend of the show because
he works here.
He's the man.
He's our colleague.
He's the man, the myth, the legend.
Host of the Oil Stream.
Probably the best looking man here.
Well, competition is sparse, but still, he would win most competitions. Our buddy Tom Gazzola is checking in on the Reid Wilkins Show. Tom, how are you doing?
Hi, boys. Long-time listener and viewer, first-time caller. What an honor. You guys are knocking it dead. It's been absolutely a tremendous week. So I'm great. Thank you for asking, Riedrich.
First time video chatter. Good to see you at the Oilers casual skate today. I almost called it a practice. It was not. The line combinations were a disaster. They don't even know who they're playing with. What is this coach doing, Tom?
What is Chris Knobloch doing? Because he's not even on the ice. Unbelievable. Man, get Glenn Gallo. I'm just kidding. I'm being facetious. But yeah, I mean, it was our first look at the group as media going in and watching them go through the casual skate. Like, I don't even know if they're calling it captain skates. Remember last year, Reid, when we'd be down there and it's like, these guys are back and the captain means business and they're captain skates. And that was a legit thing. But this year it has a different vibe to it, understandably so. It was nice to be back. It was very good to see a lot of our peers. It was kind of cool, I will admit, being like, that's our guy. There's Reid, and you and I were the EST crew down at the rink. And I think today really signaled that the summer and off season are over officially, and away we go. You and I and the rest of the media just got an email from the Oilers announcing the start of rookie camp in 2 days. So away we go, my friend.
Exciting.
Well, Tommy, I've been asked several times throughout the show, so I said I'm going to bring it up to our ace. One of our ace reporters.
We have a lot of ace reporters.
Yeah. Is there any traction to this Mark Giordano news, or is this smoke where there's fire? I mean, I can't help but not think that, something's brewing here. What's your take on this situation, Tommy?
Jay, it's been interesting to hear the Giordano connections to Edmonton. I would be surprised if they would bring him in. And if they did, hypothetically, I would say it's probably more so out of respect and he couldn't find a better place to get an opportunity for a PTO or, at best a contract. But listen, here's why I say that. He's 41 years old. He's a left shot defenseman. He has a tremendous, career behind him. And what do the Oilers need? Well, it isn't an old, slow left shot defenseman. So logically, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Now, if his agent's just trying to get him somewhere where he plays preseason games and other teams can take a look at him and the Oilers are willing to do that, weird, but okay. And that does happen for veteran players out of respect, and sometimes they land elsewhere. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense. If it does happen, I would be surprised. I think there's other guys out there that they could go after and offer PTOs that might have a chance to give a Ty Emberson or a Troy Stetcher or a Josh Brown a run for their money, especially on the right side. And, a left shot, 41-year-old slow defenseman isn't that right fit, in my opinion. But who knows? Crazier things have happened.
Yeah, obviously the Shattenkirk rumor has been out there as well. And wasn't he even quoted as saying that he'd be interested in Edmonton? I don't think that anything like that was with Gio. But it's been interesting, Tom, now that this team has become good, that I sort of don't poo-poo these rumors as much as I did in the past.
Right.
Or I don't think to myself, well, yeah, great, if there'd be a mediocre team signing a mediocre or worse player. The one thing I would say why I kind of keep an eye on these more than I used to is that you'd be bringing in these players to do less than they've been asked to do earlier in their careers, right? And that's when the Oilers were bad, what were they doing? We're going to sign Benoit Pouliot and Teddy Purcell, and they're going to be first-line wingers, and they never have been in there. I know Pouliot was a good player, but you know what I mean. Now they're saying, okay, Giordano has been a number one defenseman. He isn't anymore, and he can't be, but he has that experience under his belt. Mm-hmm. Well, what if he's a number 6? What if he's even a number 7? I'm not saying he would accept that, but that's why I'm saying with some of these veteran guys, maybe there is something to we just want their experience. We want their know-how, and we don't need them to play 25 minutes. We might need them to play 15, 2 out of every 3 games. So I don't know. I hear what you're saying about Giordano's actual skill set now and how it may be limited, but I pay a little bit more attention to these. And plus, as we're seeing, now some of these players are saying, if I only have a year or 2 left, I better go play with McDavid and Draisaitl.
Corey Perry's a great example of that, is he not? I mean, there's a guy that kind of along the same lines as Giordano, and If all the options that we've seen for potential PTOs or guys who like a Justin Schultz apparently wants a contract and doesn't want to take a PTO, like Giordano would be at the bottom of the list. But it's fair, Reid, in what you say about, giving it a bit of our ear collectively and personally, hey, maybe there's something there, but still, and I respect that. And I'm with you. Like all of a sudden, like crazy rumors or guys that we never thought would ever end up with the Oilers have in recent years. So it is one where you're like, oh, that's interesting. Makes very little sense. I don't know what's enticing about that from a team's point of view, but we'll see. I doubt it is. It's not something I've been asking around about either. And I also want to add this. How dare you forget Mark Fane when it comes to that cluster of players?
And that's too bad because he was such a nice guy.
Awesome guy.
And actually a very good defenseman when asked just to do what he was good at.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like
that's the difference. And that's a great example of where we're at now watching this team and the roster that it possesses compared to 2013, 2014, when it was continually spinning its tires every summer.
Okay. So that's rumors on the back, but yeah, that is interesting. And you mentioned Justin Schultz. Like, could you imagine if Justin Schultz came back and then what would he be asked to do? Well, hey man, just keep it steady.
Yeah.
Cool. You can get points, but what a contrast that would be for him coming in. And as much as I love Mac T, why did you make that Norris Trophy comment? Which, unfortunately hurt how the player was perceived, even though the player that wasn't his fault. But yeah, at this point in his career, Justin Schultz be on the bottom pair. Okay, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's still a serviceable NHL defenseman. And listen, he's not as good as he was at the height of his career. Where Pittsburgh, where he was winning Stanley Cups, and he prolonged that into Washington for a couple of years. And I think he's been okay for the most part in Seattle. And is he a great NHL defenseman? No, unfortunately, that didn't really turn out for him. Has he been a good one for a decade? Yeah, I think it's safe to say he has been that. And if he can play a little bit of defense and doesn't look like the Justin Schultz that we watched here for a couple of seasons, then, would that be a better option than Stetcher, Brown, and Emberson? Perhaps. And I was thinking about this too, between Oil Stream and then the Reid Wilkins show with Jay Milne. It's like, I understand, and I saw some of the reaction talking about Emberson earlier today because we have our rankings of importance that we're unveiling. And I had Emberson, I think, around 21. And my argument was this, why is the weight of oil country or the weight of expectation from some of the fan base and maybe media folks being put so much on Emberson's shoulders? Because he's played 30 NHL games. He's had a couple of years of pro hockey under his belt. I know some of his advanced metrics are enticing, and I respect that. But he has to have a good camp, and he has to beat out a couple of guys, and maybe he does turn into a feel-good story for this team. And yes, Chris Knobloch's history with him will play a part in his future with this group. But I don't know. I just think that there's a little bit of a preemptive burden being placed upon him without even really knowing what type of consistent NHL defenseman he is in an 82-game schedule, because he has never done that yet. I hope he's a good one for the sake of everybody, and I hope he's a great news story and a nice find for the Oilers, but I think it's kind of premature to put that on him right now.
Tommy, obviously you were down there at the skate this morning. Reid was there. We were just talking prior to you coming on about how, at least from what I can see or tell, these skates, the importance of them is not so much what's on the ice as opposed to maybe what's happening in the locker room after the skate, prior to the skate. You've been around this team, obviously, as Reid has as well. You've been in locker rooms. And last week, Connor McDavid, he mentioned that he probably went a little hard in the offseason and came in and maybe a little fatigued. Mm-hmm. What was your overall sense today from being at that skate? I know it's the first skate of the year. I know there's not much you could glean off of it per se, but Did you get the sense that there was more of a camaraderie side of things, an aspect going on ice or around the players, or was this strictly business?
On the ice today, Jay, that's a good question. But on the ice today, like they were working hard, and there was a certain professionalism, let's call it, to the way they skated. There was some zip on their shots. No one seemed to be taking their sweet time, messing up drills. There was some crispness to it. And, Reid and I were watching the group and we're like, oh, he is here. Oh, so-and-so is here. Like at first glance, we thought a couple of guys weren't there, and they were there. I think it was like Bouchard. We spotted Skinner. Arvidsson we picked out really quickly. But it's like a lot of the guys are in town and they're on the ice. And even though like the importance and the onus of the captain's skate, like we saw last year, hasn't really been a storyline. Like these guys are here. They know what's on the line, and it honestly felt like they hadn't really left. And I think that was one of the jokes that we kind of threw around with one another amongst the media. But I looked at it and I was like, well, I think these guys are hungry. They're pissed off that they lost the Stanley Cup, and it looks like a team that doesn't want to mess around. And the other thing too, and reading, I was listening to the last segment when you played the Draisaitl clips, and you're giving him credit for some of the things he was saying. Part of the maturation process, it's like they fully recognize how poor they played in the first part of the season last year, and they want to make it top of mind that they do not take this regular season lightly, preseason, whatever. But I kind of, from day one, being there for an hour and a half, I liked what I saw and I liked what I heard. We have a long way to go, though.
And Tommy, before we let you go, we got to get your take. This is the first Monday night football game of the year. I know we're switching sports here, but I mean, we got the Jets going down to San Francisco. Obviously, the storyline here is Christian McCaffrey is now out of the game. Aaron Rodgers making what's hopefully longer than 4 snaps before something goes snap. That was a bad joke, sorry. For the Jets. But, I mean, the Jets have missed the playoffs 16 consecutive years. This is almost a staggering stat at this point. Do you think this is the year the Jets figure it out, or is this something that Aaron Rodgers needs to, get through 3 or 4 games before you can actually believe in what's going on in Jets country?
I can't believe I'm talking to a football guy about football, and he's going to actually maybe listen to what I have to say. But I'll say this. Aaron Rodgers, he's a weird guy. He's been a great quarterback in the NFL for a long time, and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. We know that. Jay, I think he gets through at least the half today.
Okay, but, you heard it here first.
I think we'll watch him limp or shrug off something at some point this game. And I know there's no CMC for the Niners, but I'm going to support my boy, the Latino Heat. And I think that they're going to handle the Jets pretty easily, because they've turned themselves into a pretty powerful team over the last few years. And they've absolutely dummied my Arizona Cardinals in the NFC West. So I've got the Niners tonight, and old man Rodgers makes it through at least a half, but not completely unscathed. How about that?
4 plays last year, right? 4th play?
Yeah.
4th play.
And it was Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Carried
the American flag out onto the field. It was,
It's beautiful.
It's very memeable. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tom, okay, I'll see you, because I think they're going to have McDavid speak tomorrow. So
yep.
We'll be
I'm in studio tomorrow, so it's all you, baby.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I'll run by, see what. Well, Connor has not spoken since Leon signed, correct? I don't think so.
No. I know Spec had that.
Spec had that article.
Spec had that one article. Yeah.
That's about it.
Okay. Hey, thanks for hopping on, buddy. I know you had a long day. I love you.
Love you too. Always a pleasure. Thanks, boys. Keep up the good work.
Tom Gazzola from the Oil Stream, and that, of course, is the Oil Understood for GCL Diesel. You're so excited you're watching the NFL warm-ups on YouTube.
Yes. I was just seeing how the Jets look. I actually
see if Rodgers got hurt tying his shoe.
Yeah, no, he's still out there. I mean,
he's fine, everybody.
I'm more optimistic about the Jets right now. San Francisco's a good team. The Jets have the potential to have a bigger upside, given that they've been pretty terrible for the last 16 seasons. I see, off-field stuff aside, I don't care what your personal opinion is about Aaron Rodgers, because everybody's entitled to their opinion, and God bless it, you have one. But I don't really dwell on that or depend on that, because to me, he's been an exceptional quarterback through his career, and I want to see him succeed here. I do want to see him. I love the way he throws the ball. I love the way he puts zip on the ball. Mm-hmm. Probably one of the nicest throwing quarterbacks that's ever played in this game. And, lo and behold, he came up through Green Bay, where there was a fella, I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he was nicknamed the Gunslinger, in Brett Favre.
Well, here's the thing. Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than Brett Favre. He wasn't as exciting or perhaps as risk-taking. He's a technical better quarterback than Brett Favre, I think, if you've watched them both play.
Technical, neither of them are good, technically. They both throw off their back foot. They both throw with different arm angles at every time. You've seen Aaron Rodgers throw some of the most epic Hail Marys that you've ever seen in the NFL, and those are just moonshots off his back foot. Technically speaking, you'd never have anybody say, "Oh, these guys are who you should watch for film and break down," but they get the job done.
Yes, exactly.
But they're fun to watch.
Yes, but right? I would take Rodgers over Favre.
I agree with you.
I think was probably less wild. But again, that's what made Favre.
Favre was a gunslinger because
they both won. They got one Super Bowl each, right?
Yeah,
right.
There was a chance that at any time Brett Favre would, cough up the ball or throw it away on an interception. But I do want to see, and this is a great story. Aaron Rodgers grew up in the San Francisco area, coming home. Actually, Aaron Rodgers grew up right beside Stanford.
Yeah, because he went to Cal, right?
Maybe, if I'm not mistaken.
Now we got to look it up.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he was a Golden Bear.
Mm-hmm. He was. And, now they've got Breece Hall. There was a lot of expectation on them last year. Breece Hall is 2 years removed from his injury. I think Breece Hall is going to be a problem. And I think you're going to see it tonight. Now, interestingly enough, I was talking to Dustin earlier about this, because right now the over was set at 43 points.
Okay.
That's very low.
43.5?
43.
Oh, right on 43.
Right on 43. Now, he agreed with me. He said, yes, this is a very, very weird over-under total. But, Christian McCaffrey's now out. Brandon Ayuk is going to be limited. But I still think both these teams have enough to get, the over in play here. That's a 24-20 game and you're over. I don't see a reason why to believe that neither of these teams could do that. So I'm riding hard on the over here. I'm not gonna bite that this is an under game. I think both these teams are going to put up some points.
All right.
Now, you said something earlier that I want to discuss in front of everyone.
Okay. After the break.
Here's
Zach, Sports Update.
Christian McCaffrey has been ruled out for tonight's game against Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. His sore calf and Achilles, which holds him out for tonight's game, has been bothering him the entire summer. Make sure to swing by down to Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge with LTE to catch the game tonight. Lieutenant Eric will be down there for every Monday and Thursday night in the NFL. Kickoff tonight is at 6:15. The Green Bay Packers don't plan on putting Jordan Love on the injury reserve after he suffered a left knee injury in his season debut Friday night against the Eagles. With his injury, Jordan Love is expected to miss 3 to 4 weeks with an MCL sprain, but if cleared, Matt LaFleur said he'll start next week against the Colts. Staying in the world of football, LA Rams receiver Puka Nacua is considered week to week with a knee injury. He had 4 catches for 35 yards before he was pulled midway through the second quarter against the Lions last night. The Jays and the Mets are tied at zeros at the bottom of the second inning. The Blue Jays enter the game 68-76 on the season, while the Mets stand 78-65. And in just a moment, Reid and Jay will dive into their final segment of today's show on the Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. I'm Zachary Kubish, and that was your Edmonton Sports Talk update.
Two guys and a goalie.
I don't mind analytics. I just don't like when people are like only analytics and only this, and they're like, oh, you can't do that, guy is, and so he's horrible. And I'm like, let's watch the tape, and then let's look at those analytics and say why some of that stuff happened before we make our decisions.
Cass is good in the sheets, the Excel spreadsheets.
I was going to say,
like
Cass, what do you think of analytics? By the way, this episode will be called Cassalytics. Hey, I think it's got to be.
Yeah.
Two guys and a goalie with Gager, Cassian, and Nielsen. Tuesday and Thursdays at noon. Only on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Come get your game on at The Ranch. The Ranch lets it all hang out with a championship caliber design, premier conditions, and above all, a fun, laid-back experience. Get top-notch service and unmatched value every time you play at The Ranch. Think you have what it takes to go low? The best value for your golfing buck is always The Ranch. The Ranch Golf and Country Club. 10, 50, 100, and 200 round packs on sale. TheRanchGolf.com.
Celebrate the grand opening of Sit and Sleep and discover a revolutionary way to shop for mattresses. Stop in today for a free pressure point scan using cutting-edge technology so sleepologists can identify the perfect mattress for you. Right now, you'll get free local delivery on any mattress over $5.99 and receive a bamboo cooling mattress protector. Get grand opening savings now with every mattress on sale. Join us on location today for the celebrations at Sit and Sleep in South Common next to Planet Fitness.
Edmonton Sports Talk delivers a mass audience of key, influential customers to your business, all while you associate your company brand with the biggest names, the hottest sports news, and teams from every league around the globe. Oilers and Elks, NHL, NFL, Major League Baseball, and the association, Formula One, soccer, golf, oh sweet mama! The excitement is palatable on Edmonton Sports Talk. It's where fans go to get their sports fix and where our partners find the most loyal consumers. Contact us today and see how our team on Edmonton Sports Talk can score the biggest goals for your business. With various advertising options available, email business@edmontonsportstalk.com or head to our website and send a message at edmontonsportstalk.com.
Good comments if you want. Oh my goodness, here we are, 5:49. Reid Wilkins Show with Jay Milne. Having a great Monday afternoon. Fun show, everybody. Thanks for taking part by writing into the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999, or hopping into the nasty chat on YouTube as well. Zachary Kubish with us for the first time today. He's going to be a big part of the show. You hear him doing the sports updates and getting all our guests, doing all the technical work that I either never knew how to do or forgotten how to do.
Well, you know, it's like anything. It's, you know, when you go away for holidays and you spend a week away from your profession or your job, there's cobwebs, right? There's cobwebs in anything you do. So I'm not surprised, Zach. You know, I think you wiped the cobwebs off before you got on here. Although I was going to include it in the goof ups, which we might as well just get into. Because
we're going to do them before. Well, you tease something though.
Oh, I teased something. That's right. What a bad thing. I'm teasing now another thing. I'm parlaying a tease on a tease. Okay. Reid was talking to me before the show, and I want to see what you guys have to say. So Reid is in a highly contested fantasy football matchup tonight. See?
No, I'm not.
He says,
I'm going to lose.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. I'm going to lose.
I say, hey, hang on. You know, some people will care about this because, okay, you have Kittle.
I have Kittle and
Warner.
Oh, and the Niners kicker, Moody.
Yes. And the other player has
Bosa, the defensive lineman.
defense.
and Wilson, the Jets receiver.
Garrett Wilson. So it's pretty much Garrett Wilson.
And he's ahead of me by
Travis.
13 points.
Well,
I
mean, could be a Kicky McKickerson game. You never know. You could get 12 points from your kicker right there.
If Bosa has a quiet game and Kittle gets a touchdown, then I might have a chance.
See, if Bosa has a quiet game, Warner's going to have a heavier game.
Oh, good point.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that means he's not getting it. Warner's going to clean up.
I said we weren't going to do this. My individual fantasy team is only of interest to me.
Hey, sometimes you just got to discuss things that are going on in the sports. I think you have a fighter's chance. And I think it's honestly...
Well, it's close enough.
I think it's gonna come down to your kicker, oddly enough.
Okay, here's something else I said, though. That in fantasy sports, you should not get 6 points for a touchdown. There should be less emphasis on touchdowns and more on the yardage.
Okay, but you said running backs should not so running backs.
That's the example I used.
You do not like that. There's not more, reward for a running back that has 98 yards rushing on the drive and no touchdown because they threw it on the second.
Because they put the fullback in for the final yard. Right. So here's the thing: if your running back has 90 yards rushing, so in most leagues that'd be a 9-point game. And then they have another guy who has 3 carries for 5 yards, but he gets 2 touchdowns. Yeah. He now has a 12-point game. Who's the better football player?
Well,
who's more valuable?
Who's more valuable?
Yes.
The running back that got you all those yards.
Right, not the fullback that went in for the 2 touchdowns. Now, he fills a role on the team, but he's not
it's not
more
about
all-round.
value, it's about reward.
It's about points.
It's about
I get
points.
it. It's about the structure of your league. I get it.
So I get it. I do get it. Now, Zach, we got to talk about this. Your sports update at 5 was a little choppy. It was a little, and we had some people talking about it. So do you want to add that to your goof up list? We're having some fun with ourselves here.
Yeah, no, I was thinking about that one. I think it's where... What was I saying? Something about Jordan Love playing the Falcons instead of the Eagles, and then from there it was just
it's a bird, whatever.
It's a bird,
It's
whatever.
a bird. It's a plane.
They should have their own division.
It's a
bird division.
Now, did you see any screw ups per se from Reid or myself today that would have stuck out?
I have mine.
Ooh, that's a you double
ups, by the
tease.
way.
You parlayed your tease.
A
That's
double
the most
tease is in fact broadcasting. It's like two wrongs
F grade.
don't make a right. F grade.
No,
I
I'm
agree. I said that Jarious Jackson went 0-7. That wasn't the case. Chris Jones.
And you messed
right.
up.
No, I said sorry.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you,
said-
Maddie. I said Chris Jones went 0-7. Well, he didn't have the chance to go 0-7.
No, he was 0-5.
He went 0-5.
Yeah, that
So
was a minor.
was my-
but I immediately was like 0-5. So it's like, to me, that's not really a goof up. You just said the wrong record. We immediately straightened it out. We're fine.
On any of these, we're going to be directionally right. It's just we were off by a bit here, a bit there, a bit, right, Zach? You know what I mean?
Numbers are hard.
They are.
One of my goof ups was that when I was doing Crunch the Numbers for Gallo LLP, I doubted myself as I got further down my list because my handwriting got less legible. So I'm pretty sure that they're 7th in passing yards per play.
One will never know.
Because I scribbled so bad. And for goof up for the point of thoroughness, Leon Draisaitl, his brother-in-law, is on the German men's field hockey team. Got an Olympic silver medal. I should have identified the other people. Kim Draisaitl is his sister. Nicholas Wellen is the brother-in-law who plays on the team. I should have had the names ready to go.
That's pretty cool. I mean, to have a family member that's in the Olympics and sometimes you forget that side of these professional athletes, that they have sisters, brothers who have significant others. So it's interesting to see that they would all go out and support the brother-in-law over there in Paris, France.
Do you know a lot about field hockey?
I know enough to know that they wet the field a lot before they play on it.
Oh, do they water the field down?
Soak. They don't wet it. They soak it.
Oh, really?
Because the women's Pandas field hockey team at U of A would practice at Foot Field before we would go on for practice. And sure, the first thing you do when you get on the football field is stretch. Our asses would be soaked Every time.
And this was on the field turf, the artificial turf.
Not what he is now. Like this would have been like this would have been turf.
Right.
Now this is field turf. Like it's different. It's different now than it was then.
So I wonder if they wet every surface they play on then. Like
They
what
do.
if
They
they
do.
play on natural grass? I don't even know if they play
They
field
don't play
hockey
on natural grass.
Well, they always play on field turf.
It's on turf and more like an AstroTurf, not just field turf.
Oh, really? Okay.
But they wet the field, from my understanding, is to limit the bounciness of the ball. So the ball rolls better when the turf is. And if anybody knows more than me, but that's at least what I was. That's what I was being told. Barry the Cheater in the Nasty Chat says, "Bah ha ha, Jay being called out on the double T's." Yeah.
What does Barry call himself, the cheater?
I don't know. Barry, do you have something you want to tell us all?
Maybe we don't want the story, actually, now that I think about it. But thank you, Barry. We appreciate that. Do you have any other goof ups?
I
think we.
Yeah, I do, because I said that the when they kick it through the end zone, the ball goes to the 35-yard line, but it actually goes to the 30.
Yes, now,
Right.
yeah.
And then that's why we said changing it to the 40 would be...
It should be treating a kickoff through the end zone the same as kicking it out the sidelines. Just take it to the 40. Then we might get more returns in the NFL. Or maybe they would just say, no, we don't care.
Or like Jed Roberts said, just back the damn kicker up.
Well, that's another thing. Move him back to the 15.
Yeah.
And say, okay, just move him back to the point where the ball lands on the goal line.
Kick it as hard as you can.
Kick it as hard as you can, and then you might get a return. And then do they keep lining up the people, though, everybody else on the other side? That's taking some getting used to see that. And then if you want to do a short kick, you have to say, hey, everybody, we're doing a short kick.
Well, oddly enough, we did not see one short kick in week one of the
Nobody
NFL.
tried one, eh?
And there's still a game tonight, obviously, but we did not see one during this Thursday, Friday, or Sunday play. So, hey, maybe tonight's the night.
We're going to do another show tomorrow. Justin Lawrence.
God willing.
Another former Golden Bear. Now with the Montreal Alouettes. He is scheduled to join us. They got a good team.
Three Grey Cups.
He does. Even he, though, the first one, he's kind of like,
why?
Because he was practice roster.
Who cares? You got the ring.
With
You're
the
part of the
Stamps.
team. You're part of the locker room. You're part of the team.
I think he actually
deserve
feels
that.
differently because he doesn't talk about that one as much.
I get
From
it
my
when you have
experience with
two
him.
that you're the starting center for.
Yeah,
you're going to
it's
talk less
different.
about that
Yeah.
one. But no, he deserves that.
All right. We had a fun show. Thanks to everybody who took part. Thanks to Zachary Kubish. Good to have you back. We're going to watch Monday Night Football. He's Jay. I'm Reid. Thanks for listening.
Don't feel like working? Join the Hangout. You never know what you might hear. Weekday mornings 9 to 11 on EdmontonSportsTalk.com.